right. Thank you guys for coming out to the first official candidate forum for this next voting season that's on us right now. We do have another forum for those of you that want to attend Monday evening at 6 o'clock in Gatesville at the Civic Center. And we try to go back and forth and do things in the north part of the county and the south. If you don't know me, my name is Norm Mitchell. I'm the chairman of the Coryell County Republican Party. And again, I want to thank you guys for coming out this morning. I'm going to read you some of the rules for this morning's debate and forum. Not really debate, but forum. First of all, everybody wants to know the bathrooms are right out the door to the right. That's the most important thing. Also, if you would please silence your phones.
Adam and Eve.
Yeah, hopefully y'all are smart enough to figure it out now, but you never know. Adam is the male, Eve is for the female. First of all, this message is for all the candidates. By being here this morning, you agree to follow the directions of the moderator. That's me. Bob here is our timekeeper. Raise your hand, Bob. So be watching him. Okay. Candidates agree to conduct themselves in a professional and respectful manner. All right. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement. At the conclusion of opening statements from each candidate in that section, then we will begin the questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question. If a candidate mentions another candidate by name, that candidate will get 1 minute for any type of rebuttal that they may have. And at the conclusion of the questions, each candidate will have 90 seconds for a closing statement. Okay? The above rules are subject to change at any time based on what I feel like. No, I'm just kidding.
That's perfect.
All right, first of all, I want to plug a couple of things while y'all are here. Out front, you should see there are some flyers for the Lincoln Reagan dinner. Thank you, sir. It looks like this is our next big event coming up on February 21st in Gatesville at the Texas Station Event Center. We have Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick coming as our guest speaker. You know, we had the governor last February. We've got the lieutenant governor this February. We're going to try our best to get Trump to come next February. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but we're going to give it a shot. And again, our next forum will be Monday evening at 6 p.m. in Gatesville at the Civic Center. Now, I do know that not every candidate from every contested race is here this morning. And how we're going to do this is we're going to start with I guess I would call it the smaller races where there's not so many people that are contested, and we'll have them go first, and then we'll just move down the list of contested races so that everybody gets a chance, but not everybody from every race is going to be up here at the same time, if that makes sense, because y'all will just get tired of staring at them all morning long, okay? So we are going to start this morning. Huh? We should do the Pledge of Allegiance. Yes. Thank you. Absolutely. By the way, before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, that was my wife. I listen to her all the time. And she is a precinct chair. If you're a precinct chair in Coryell County, would you stand up? I'd like for you guys to meet your leadership in the county. And we'll just, wait, don't sit down, don't sit down. Tell everybody your name and what precinct you represent within Coryell County. Sorry, we'll go over there.
I'm James Pierce, precinct 104, which is the northwest side of Copperas Cove.
I'm Bob Adams, I'm precinct 413.
I'm Kim Buckley, I'm precinct 102.
Teresa Mitchell, precinct 412.
Kristen Weddle, precinct 205.
Herbie Lack 101.
All right, we have flags somewhere. Yes. If you stand and join me in a pledge of allegiance to the American flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, so our first group of candidates this morning are going to be for Coryell County Justice of the Peace, Precinct 2.
He's not nice.
We have Bill Price and Joey Afaji. So you guys can make yourself at home right up on stage.
Any chair, any chair. Choose a chair.
Come on, Joey. but somebody's gonna sit there.
Okay.
All right, so Judge Price, since you're the incumbent, we'll allow you to go first. 2 minutes to just tell us about yourself and your opening statement, sir.
When you're 30 seconds out, I'll raise my hand.
Okay, thank you. Well, first, I want to thank Mr. Alfaji for his military service. He's a veteran, and he served this country, and he deserves our respect and applause. I'm Bill, well, I mentioned his name, so he gets a minute to
Yes, sir, you
rebut,
can
right?
grab that.
That's right.
Now just take it off the stand.
Well, I'd rather have my hands free because
Okay.
I talked with him. I'm Bill Price. I'm Justice of the Peace Precinct 2 for Coryell County. I've been in office for 31 years now. And this is the first time I've ever had an opponent. I don't know how to act. I'm from San Antonio originally. I grew up in the Air Force, and we lived all over the world, of course. And went to St. Mary's University in San Antonio, and I went to Tulsa Law School. And I've been practicing law here in Copperas Cove for 40, somebody count them, 40-something years, since '79. So it's been a while. My philosophy in the court is that we're there to change conduct. We want to change people's conduct, and that is our goal. Hammering people in the head when they're down doesn't do much good. In fact, it can do harm. But if we can get that person to obey the laws, we have gained something for our community. If we can get them to go get a diploma or something of that nature by giving them an alternative to punishment, then we've gained something for the community. If we get them to go to get a driver's license so they're not driving illegally, we've done something for the community, and we've changed behaviors, and that's what our goal is.
Go ahead, Joey. Go ahead.
Good morning, one and all. First and foremost, thank you very much for taking the time off your busy schedule to attend today's forum. My name again is Joey Afaji. I'm running for Justice of the Peace Precinct 2. For some of you, currently I am on the Planning and Zoning for the Copperas Cove here. I'm also on the Appraisal Review Board for our county. Okay, cool. I'm there for the hearings on your appeal, or the residents of Coryell County, for their taxations appeal. I've been on there for a few years already. I'm on the Planning and Zoning on my second term. I've also was on the Economic Development Corporation, a few years on the Board of Adjustments. So I've made myself available for the community of Copperas Cove as it has grown since my retirement in 2014. During those times, I wanted to learn more about our community and get back to it. Coming here in 2010, I've seen a lot of changes. So I asked my late wife, can I go ahead and serve the community? And she gave me the blessing, as long as I keep my eyes crossed and my mouth straight, I'll be able to go ahead and articulate to the residents both in Copperas Cove and Coryell of its matter. I've been doing paralegal work since 1988 when I came to America after graduating from the Marine Corps. A good friend of mine told me I finally went over and gone over to the best service after finishing 13 years in the Marine Corps into the Army. There I also served in the legal field and in the field artillery world. So knowledge is very heartfelt within myself, and providing that information to our community will work and help us grow together. Thank you.
What I'll do from now on, I'll hit you at 30 seconds, I'll hit you at 10 seconds on your hand up. That means you guys know when you're
You got-
close. 30-second warning, 10-second warning.
Need your glasses?
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right, first question for both of you gentlemen. What would your two primary objectives be going into the role as Justice of the Peace going forward? What are your two most important objectives?
Sir, thank you.
And again, you're free to take the microphone back to your chair and just hand it back and forth if you want.
Oh, well, I mean,
It's your choice.
I can stand here as cross-eyed and I can actually talk to everybody without even turning my head, but out of respect, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I have eye-to-eye contact. My role here is primarily to serve the residents. There are items on there as a justice of the peace that we do both civil and criminal matter, from probable cause in the lines of criminal, ensuring that the defendant or the individual knows one's rights before going further, ensuring that our sheriff and our city police, if it's referred over, their paperwork is dotted, I's dotted, T's crossed. When it comes to the civil matters, one of the biggest things, as I mentioned, is planning and zoning and the appraisal review board. We have renters, or as I would say, landlords here in our community. To protect the rights of both individuals, I would like to go ahead and present those information and educations to both of the resident and the individual owners. That is my two primary goals, both in civil and in criminal matters. Thank you.
The things I want to accomplish, and I think I have to some degree accomplished already, but I want to continue to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with my God. Now those come straight out of the book of Micah. Those are my contract. They're my contract. Do justice, treat everyone who comes into my court equally. And that means in these, some civil cases, the rules, such as evictions and things like that, the rules are very, very rigid, and we don't have a lot of options, and we have to put people on the streets that we really don't want to see out there. That's when hard cases make bad law, you know? And we've got landlords on the other side who have to make payments on those buildings. And they probably don't want to put these people out any more than I do, but it happens. But the justice courts are the people's court. That's where what we call the little guy can come in and face off against the big guy and have a really good shot at winning. Now that's when the corporations are suing the small guy for collection of a debt. Neighbors get mad at neighbors. We have rules in place in the justice courts to prevent the abuse that goes on in the higher courts. Where the biggest team of lawyers wins. We don't have that in the justice courts. We have rules and we apply them rigidly to assure fairness. We try to be merciful because mercy sometimes is a greater corrective agent than punishment. I'll say more than that. It's most of the time more effective than punishment. Does that mean
10 seconds.
Oh, okay, well, 10 seconds I'll spend talking to you. Anyway, those are the things that I'm for. Justice, mercy, and I walk humbly with God.
You get a 30-second warning and a 10-second warning.
Okay. That's why they can't hear you guys. Now.
There we go, nice.
Well, I heard.
Okay, guys, next question. So Judge, how do you, and for Joey, how would you approach the responsibility of setting bail for arrestees?
Yes, sir.
Bail is a current hot topic. We've had people released on bail who should never have been on our streets. But we also have people who ought to be able to make a bail and cannot because of these rules that we've passed. I think we overreacted when we put this list of crimes for which you cannot get bail. You cannot get a personal bond released. Now, I have had occasion quite recently to set $150,000 bonds on somebody. But I also had somebody in jail, and when I magistrated them, this was a 60-something-year-old woman who was in a wheelchair charged with assault causing bodily injury on a family member. Now, if she'd gone out and hit the mailman, well, federal issues there, but she would have been eligible for a personal bond. So I could just, okay, you promise that you'll appear, we'll let you go home. I couldn't do that because of the way the law is now. So we have to find some way to temper that, and keep that philosophy within reason. We don't want bad people on the streets. Nobody wants bad people on the streets, and there are bad people on our streets. When we get them in jail, I want to keep those bad people there. And if, you know, I'm hoping they can't come up, I shouldn't say, I'm not gonna say that. Okay, well, I'll yield my time to Joe. Go ahead.
Learning as a paralegal, we are the ones behind the scenes. We're the ones making the paperwork for our attorneys to go ahead and bring and debate in the courts. One of the things that I've learned and I've instilled in myself is right. You did right, we do right. Individuals who's done wrong are still innocent until proven guilty. How do we provide that, or me as a justice of the peace, to determine their release on bail? I work with our district attorney, if it's criminal, and our county attorney, if it's civil matters, on the release of that individual. Mind you, there are some matters that are focused on that, and see the rules from our state legislator who's brought that down to our county and down to the justice of the peace to follow. Those are the rules that I do. I dot the i's and I cross the t's. Yes, I've seen some gentlemen and some ladies who has basically found the needle with the work I've done as a paralegal, all the way up to basically what we call PR, a personal release, on the guarantee that the individual will report back over to the courts to determine their guilt or their innocence. With me as the bail, I will work with those county officials and our state officials, both in the higher courts, to determine what could be changed, what can be continued on, if I agree with it, and most importantly, the protections of everybody here in the city of Copperas, Cove, and Coryell County. Thank you.
Next question, gentlemen. Coryell County residents often appear in JP court without an attorney. How will you ensure that your courtroom is fair, respectful, and understandable for self-represented individuals while applying the law consistently? Y'all can play rock, paper, scissors if you want to go first.
We get along pretty well. Actually, you're gonna find that most of the citizens that appear in the justice courts are not represented by counsel, most of them. They are there to present their case, and that's where the justice thing comes in. The justice needs to listen to the people who come in his court, treat them respectfully and fairly, and then make a decision. And that person should leave the court saying, well, I didn't prevail today, but the judge was listening to me and he seemed to understand what I was saying, and he explained to me why I couldn't prevail in this. And so we don't adhere to the strict rules of evidence or strict rules of procedure in the court, although they are good rules, and I do apply them whenever possible, because they are good rules. They're there for a purpose, and they help keep order in your proceedings. But the general layman is not familiar with those rules, and I have to kind of coach them along. But it's permissible. In the justice courts, the JP can help produce the evidence, can help develop the evidence, is the word the statute uses. We can help develop evidence. So that means if something is laying out there and it's not been answered, I can ask them that question. Well, what did you do with this? Or, well, how long have you lived there? Was it in this condition when you moved in? That kind of thing. That white card, now that's a new one.
30 seconds.
Usually it's a
Most of the matters that we come across in the courts of the justice of the peace are civil matters that individuals come into the courts by themselves. having basically either a citation from our sheriff's department all the way up to an eviction. As a JP, there are what rules are called that I will basically adhere to and help each individual resident in a neutral manner to go ahead and make a determinations along with their case. In a criminal matter, after basically reading them probable cause, assigning them with the district attorney a defense attorney if they're not able to afford one. Otherwise, by the rules that is established by our courts that we have voted for time and time again, I would adhere to that. The main reason why my portion of it is strictly for our residents here at Copperas Cove and the outlying Coryell County outside the city limits to ensure fair and unbiased approach to their case, no matter it be criminal or civil. Thanks.
Next question. With many military families, seniors, and rural residents in Coryell County, how do you and how would you use judicial discretion when it comes to fines, payment plans, eviction timelines, while still upholding Texas law?
SSCRA. Yes, sir.
And if you guys need me to reread the question, please say so.
If you would, please.
Sure, you bet. With many military families, seniors, and rural residents in Coryell County, how do you, or in Joey's case, how would you use judicial discretion when it comes to fines, payment plans, eviction timelines, while still upholding Texas law?
Okay. First, I fall into at least two of those categories. You may notice the black hair and the gray. So I fall into the old category. And we have what's called the Service Members Civil Relief Act, and Joy mentioned it to me just a moment ago. That protects service members from some types of litigation under circumstances where their military service prevents them from defending themselves. So we have that. Now, as to eviction timelines, those are fixed in stone. Those are cut in stone. And we have almost no discretion on those. We can sometimes work around with the amount of rent that may be owed if there are factors in there that indicate maybe we could reduce the arrearage in rent to something the person can handle. But as far as the right to possession of the property in an eviction, that Moses brought that down from the mountain. That's tough. Now, as far as the rest of it, yes, for fines, we can work around the fines, although there are ranges in which the fine must be set. If you get a second citation for driving without insurance, your minimum fine is $350, and that may range up to $1,000. So we have the fine ranges that are set by law. We have to adhere to those. Satisfying that fine is where we get some discretion. I use a lot of community service. We send people to give blood. If you want to give blood, I'll give you $100 off of your fine. But you have to do it after the judgment. Now, you can't go contributing blood and then somebody, hey, Judge, I got $300. Can I go drive fast? That doesn't work. So we have a lot of discretion in that area where we can adjust the amounts of the fines and so forth, or the means of satisfying the fines.
Good shepherd for our community, for our service members here, basically temporarily as such, if they are renting. One of the things I'd like to go ahead and see and work with them in order to be able to suffice their fines would be community service. Get them out, get to know their community, get to know what's going on in our community while they're going to go through their process of that matter. When it comes to a criminal matter, under the Soldiers and Sailors Civil Relief Act, they go through the county district attorney. Soldiers and Sailors Civil Relief Act prevents any landlord from evicting them while they're deployed. That doesn't mean it applies when they're here and they're renting. We do go ahead, do have the guidelines for it. I look at the service member and their family and their, good word for it, situations in their finances, especially when it comes to young soldiers not able to meet their needs and to take care of that family. Those matters are on a case-by-case basis, and I have the discretions along with that rules to follow to ensure fairness throughout both parties, both the plaintiff and the respondent, or the plaintiff and the defendant. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, your last question this morning. The justice of the peace position does not require a law degree, but it does require ongoing education. What experience best prepares you for this role, and how will you stay current on Texas law and the unique needs of Coryell County?
Unique needs.
Well, the position of Justice of the Peace requires that I complete 20 hours of judicial education every year. I just got back from a judge's school in Galveston. It's a tough duty, but somebody's got to do it, you know. Galveston's tough. But we do have ongoing education all the time. We have the Texas Justice Court Center in Austin. We have them available anytime we have a question. We can call down there and talk to some guys who do nothing but this kind of law. They do nothing but focus on what JPs hear. And they're very well read, very smart people. And they generally can come up with and craft a good answer for us. That takes a little time, so we have to be familiar with the law ourselves. As far as the unique aspects of Coryell County, that would probably come into play in our population, our military population. We have a substantial number of military people living here in Copperas Cove, and we have to accommodate their needs. And I would disagree with Joey on the Service Member Civil Relief Act provisions. My reading of it, and I have had other people tell me they disagree, my reading of it says, I can't grant a judgment for money against a service member who's overseas deployment, but I can give the landlord his property back. He must safeguard the tenant's belongings, but he can have his property back to put back in the stream of commerce, because these landlords can really, really suffer from an extended period of non-payment of rent.
When I basically decided to go ahead and run for Justice of the Peace, one of the things I did is I went over to the legal educations for Texas. It gave me the guideline, or as I would say, the checklist, and it's basically ABC procedures as far as how to go ahead and ensure that I meet the qualifications to be a JP within the next 2 years upon my elected position. Will I find the time to go ahead and manage both that and serving the community as a JP? Yes. In my beginning brief, I helped here by doing a lot of community involvement for both the city, the county, nonprofits, and my church. So yes, I know how to manage my time to make sure that the education that I need to be qualified as a JP is adhered to, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. There are a lot of legal words that I've reviewed, and thankfully I understand those legal terminologies and interpret it so that I can achieve what we need to do here in our great city of Copperas Cove. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, you both have 90 seconds for a closing comment.
As I said, 31 years ago, I signed a contract. If you want to read my contract, go to Micah, the book of Micah in the Old Testament, chapter 6, verse 8. And what does the Lord require of you? That you do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. I've told you what I think about justice. It's an even playing field for everybody. If it's a corporation that has mega millions of dollars versus the guy who lives on his monthly check, they are both equal in that court, and we have protections in place for them. I want everybody who walks out the door to say, I had justice today. Not that I won, but the judge listened and understood and treated me with respect. And I always try to do that. That's important. And loving mercy, that's where we come in to that's where the rubber meets the road, let's say, where I can give alternate means of satisfying judgments, and I've got a whole basket full of them, and I can get kind of creative with them sometimes. But I have to find some way that this person who's already hurt is not just completely destroyed by what I do, because that would be injustice.
Once again, thank you one and all for being here and taking the time off. I see some of you come in a little bit afterwards to take your time from a busy schedule that you have. As a candidate for the Justice of the Peace, the big role for me is basically serving our community. I have proven to myself being a volunteer day in and day out. One of the things I look forward to do is basically 7 days a week, at a moment's notice, be available for the community if it has to do with matters of one's loved ones. During the normal business hours, I will make myself available either by email, text, or whatnot. The key point is that I'm just a phone call away as your JP for Coryell County Precinct 2. This matter does help each individual learn what's going on in the community and or their loved ones for the natures of my position. I look forward to serving you, and of course, hope to see you all at the primary booth. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Do we have anybody here that's running for district clerk?
You have any questions here?
Do we step down now?
Yeah, y'all do.
Okay.
No questions?
I'm toast.
Lisa Roebuck's not here, Becky Moore. Okay, our next, will be Coryell County Commissioner, Precinct 2. So we should have Tiffany Butler, Tully Meyer, Farron Nolte, and Scott Weddle running for that position. If you folks are here, you can take the stage.
Okay, so I'll give you all a 1 minute card. When you're at the 1 minute warning, I'll give you a 30-second, I'll give you a 10-second.
And again, if you wanna just pass the mic and stay seated, that's your choice. If you wanna keep what we're doing, that's fine too. So, first, again, 2 minute opening statement. Whoever wants to go first.
Good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to give glory to my Savior, Jesus Christ. That all glory goes to Him. I'm Scott Weddle, and I'm your current County Commissioner for Precinct 2, and I'm running for re-election. To get to know me a little bit, I'm a conservative Republican. I say it's one thing to vote Republican, it's another thing to be a Republican. And that means getting involved. I've been involved with the Republican Party since I was 30 years old. Been to multiple district conventions, 2 state conventions. So I back it up with my vote, and I also participate. I'm a Christian. I believe that's important because the Republican Party embraces that. I was born a Christian. I became a believer at 30, and I started my walk with Jesus at 50. I wished I'd found it sooner, but that was my life. I'm a patriot. I love our founding fathers. I love our Constitution. I took an oath to support that when I took this position. So I think that's very important as a Republican. And I'm a native Texan, and I think that's just enough said. This is hard. A resume is very fast. I think one of the differences that I have is my vast business experience. I started out, I got my degree from University of Houston in finance. I worked for a company that let me go to school, so I worked for them for 10 years. I became a West Coast regional sales manager for them after 3 years at 26 years old. Then I went on to work for another manufacturer out of Chicago, Panduit. Then and worked for Wildcat Electric Supply. Basically, I've been in the wholesale electrical supply business for 40 years. When I decided to run for this position, I made a promise that I would quit that job, which I did, and I am a full-time county commissioner, and that is the only job I have. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tully Meyer. I was born and raised in Gatesville, Texas, 29 years old. I decided to run because I thought we needed change. I think I stand out because I'm a local business owner, own 3 different businesses. I pay a lot in taxes, and I wanted to make a difference for the community. I have a wife and 2 boys. They couldn't make it today. And I want to thank everybody for coming out. I like to keep things short and sweet and get to the point. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Farron Nolte, born and raised in Gatesville. Little background about myself. Joined the Marine Corps back when I was 23. Did 4 years in the Marine Corps. Came back to Gatesville. Did a lot of work for my dad. Thank you. Like Tully said, I'm short and sweet too, but I also run a construction company. I'm tired of paying high taxes as well. I think there's ways that we can cut taxes, budgeting. And as far as we all know, the future, what the future holds, the future infrastructure is going to need repairs. It's going to need upgrades. We're not going to have enough housing in the future for inmates. We already all know that is going to happen later on. So let's try to prep for it now. And I think we can do that without raising taxes. I think we can do that with budgeting and prepping for the future. We know it's coming. It's already been here. It's already shown itself now, and it's coming again. So, thank y'all.
All right, guys, the first question, the primary duty of a county commissioner is to create and implement policy. First question, should the county be encouraging building and development?
Should it be encouraging building and development as far as subdivisions and that nature?
Subdivisions, industrial, people coming in.
That's good. I think it should. I think that the county needs to implement some rules on it though, because for instance, the Oglesby subdivision they just subdivided, they were all promised water. There's no water out there. Every lot sold, I mean, instantly, and now they're all up for sale again, and there's not, I don't think there's even a single house out there, is there? No, there's not, and it's good for the community because that would have brought a lot more people to Coryell County as far as taxes. They would help out with the taxes. Sales tax would go up because they'd be shopping in Coryell County, but all that's out the window because there's no water out there. So I think there should be, but I think there should be rules.
I think, just like Farron, there should be more rules and regulations on the development. I encourage it though. Just as Farron stated, all the lots sold very quickly, but 80% of them sold to investment companies. Well, in my line of work, you know that they're gonna do that. It's a game that they play. They split it up, they sell it back to themselves, and then they sell it again for an even bigger profit. So they make the profit 2 times. They were promised water. They were told that wells were gonna be $40,000, and if anybody in Coryell County knows, they cost around anywhere from 60 to 100, depending on where you're at and how deep you have to go. As far as for businesses, yes, I encourage that also, more tax revenue, but we don't have the infrastructure for it. Our infrastructure can barely handle what we have now. And it brings work for the citizens of Coryell County. I mean, we're pretty low income. I think we're like bottom 5% of the counties in Texas. We have to get the workforce back working with good jobs, not just Walmart or McDonald's, not anything against them, but they need careers. They need career building businesses in Coryell County. Thank you.
You know, as a conservative Republican, this is something that I've struggled with. You know, these developments, as long as they're doing everything under the law and everything within the rules, it's hard for me to tell a private landowner what they can do with their property. Again, that's following all the rules and regulations. The county is in the process of trying to rewrite our subdivision rules and regulations because they're extraordinarily complex. I think the last time that they were rewritten was 4 or 5 years ago, and a lot of things have changed. And the state does not make it easy for us, and they probably shouldn't, to regulate what goes on private property. As far as economic development, there used to be an economic development. Cove has a very, very good a group that had that up. Gatesville had one. It just it wasn't being utilized. But economic development should be put on by a private group of citizens supported by the county government to go out there and solicit business in their areas of expertise. But that's where volunteerism comes in, and that's extraordinarily hard to get people to volunteer their time, you know, to do that. So and I agree with these two guys 100%. We need to give our young people in this county jobs that they can, you know, earn a living and be proud of. And that comes in light manufacturing and, you know, those type of jobs. So it is extraordinarily complex. I know we talk about it all the time, but we certainly need to do something about that. So I would appreciate any questions about that, and anybody who wants to volunteer for an economic development council in you know, the Gatesville area, I would be willing to support that as a court member.
All right, gentlemen, next question. What are your thoughts on the current pay of county employees and pay raises? As far as pay raises, how often, how much, how would you apply a pay raise? Across the board, or would it be based on merit?
Say it again.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the current pay of Coryell County employees? And when it comes to pay raises, how often, how much, how would you apply a pay raise? Would it be across the board, or would it be based on merit?
Pay in Coryell County, I mean, it's pretty low, but you know, they have the benefits. I don't know how it stands in the whole state of Texas compared to every other county on how they get paid. As far as giving raises, I don't think it would be across the board. I think it would be per department. You know, there's a lot of different department heads that can ask for a raise whenever they present the budget for themselves or their employees in their department. I guess it would I would base it off what I use in everyday business. Just, are they doing a good job? Do they need help? Do they have too many people in the department? You know, I'm not real privy with all the rules and regulations in the county government as far as pay. I'm sure it's similar to private business, but I would figure it out and would get something done. Thank you.
When I took the position 3.5 years ago, many of our groups of employees were grossly underpaid. Some of the accomplishments we've done is we did raise the minimum salary for deputies to $45,000 a year starting salary. We started the jailers at $40,000. But the group that was really ignored were our clerks. They're the backbone, probably the largest group of employees outside of, you know, the sheriff's office and Road and Bridge. And we were able to raise their salary to at least a level that they could go work at Dairy Queen and Walmart. One of what you'll find out is as you get into government, there's so many rules, so many regulations. And this blew me away because I thought, oh, we'll run it like a private business. So if we give a class or a group, and let's just talk about the deputies, if we give them a $5,000 raise on their base salary for incoming, That means every single employee under that category gets that $5,000 raise. So it's not as simple as in private industry where you can pick out and say, that person deserves it, this person doesn't. It's also extraordinarily expensive when you go down that road. So, raising salaries of an entire group. When I first started, I was anti-COLA, which is cost of living. But I've come to find out that we get into a big circle if you don't address that inflation at least. But again, that comes on the backs of the taxpayers every single time. And in our budget, salaries are well over 50. They're more in the 60 to 70% range. And if a private business ran that way, they wouldn't last very long. So it's certainly on my mind. These are the people that work for you every day. And so I'm going to do everything I can to keep it competitive and to give them a good living wage. Thank you.
Can you ask the question one more time?
You bet. What are your thoughts on the current pay of Coryell County employees? And when it comes to pay raises, how often, how much, and how would you apply a pay raise? Would it be across the board or based on merit?
Okay. The other day in one of the commissioners meetings, a question got brought up on whether they could use a grant, or I believe it was a grant, to raise someone's salary. And to me, that's just an out of this world question, because a grant to me is a one-time thing. You can't give a salary raise on a one-time payment. You could do a bonus or something of that nature, but so to me, that just kind of blew me away. That was an obvious no, but so I do spend a lot of time in the courthouse with the clerks, and just in my opinion, I think there's some areas where they're overstaffed, where you could let a few go and raise everybody else's salary and still be spending less than you are now. So that's just my opinion. I don't want to get too technical with that, but I think, well, just like they said, every department's got its own. Some are understaffed, some are overstaffed. Just me looking from the outside in, there are a few that are overstaffed that they could let a couple go and give the rest of them some raises. So with that being said, that's all I got.
All right, gentlemen, next question. Should the county use tax dollars for economic development incentives to corporations? And should they use tax abatements? Please explain why or why not.
No. I say no. My first response to me, my dad taught me this a long time ago. I said, Dad, can I go to the movie? His first thing was no. And then I had to develop my reasons and why I could do it. Generally, I'm against tax abatements to big corporations. But the minute I say that, there's an exception to every rule. It would depend on the payback, the time over, the number of jobs, and all of that. But I do believe economic development, and I will say that at least in the northern side of the county, some of our infrastructure is getting much better. We're finally getting some broadband and that, so I think attracting businesses will be better. We've just got to keep our kids here, give them a reason to stay in Coryell County. Right now I talk to folks all the time, and they said their kids are having to move out because the jobs just don't exist unless you want to work for the county, or if you want to work for the jail system. But when it comes to abatements, again, there's only been a few executed in Coryell County, many of them prior to the time. I do want to go back and just kind of reiterate on the employees. We do have very feature-rich benefits. We also have step raises, and for road and bridge specifically, if they hit certain classes. So if they start out as a shredder on the side of the road and then they get certified on a larger piece of equipment, then they automatically in the next budget season get some raises. So we're doing everything we can to try to do that. But economic development, again, needs volunteerism from the public. We gotta have you. Thanks.
Can you repeat it one more time?
Should the county use tax dollars for economic development incentives to corporations? And what about tax abatements? Please explain why or why not.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know a lot on that subject. I think what Scott just said was pretty good. I'm gonna have to agree with a lot that he said there. I'm just being honest, I really don't know. I haven't looked into that. You know, we do need an economic growth development in Gatesville. Copperas Cove, like they said, has a pretty good one. In Gatesville, we need one. The infrastructure in Gatesville is horrible. The water, sewer, it's always falling apart. You know, yes, we are getting internet, but you know, I can't use the bathroom with the internet. So, and I can't drink a fiber optic cable. So, anyway, thank you for the question, and that's really all I know. Thank you.
I don't really have a great answer for that, other than I have an example. So my dad started Noltex Trust in Gatesville, Texas. And when they wanted to expand, the city of Littlefield, so my answer to the question is a yes or no. The city of Littlefield gave or offered a building to my dad for free if he would bring his company to that town, because the town's struggling, just like Gatesville. And when he did that, it brought 60 jobs to Littlefield. So they were given a building for free to bring their company there. So in that aspect, I would say yes and no. I don't necessarily think we should give tax dollars away, but that's one example. I mean, the building was not the greatest building. City owned it, city gave it to them, and they used it and brought jobs to Littlefield.
Ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts on the current water infrastructure and availability and the current level of water development in Coryell County?
I've installed a lot of utilities. Rob knows. Most people I've told, everyone in here probably knows. But so when they come in, we work for Coryell City. I've done some for McGregor. When they come in, they say, "Hey, we need this much water for 30 houses." They say, "All right, you got to install a 4-inch line." The president of the board of Coryell City, my dad, was like, "Why don't we put an 8-inch line in while we're already digging the ditch? You're already bedding it, you're already digging it. Why not, instead of do a 4, do an 8? Because we know 10 years from now, there's gonna be 30 more, and that line's gonna be upgraded again." So that's, I think we should do it in that aspect. We already know what's coming. We know, or we hope, houses are gonna come, people are gonna come, businesses are gonna come. You can plan for it now, while it's much cheaper now than when it's gonna be much more expensive in the future.
I wish there was a lot more answers that I could give you on this, but the basic answer is the county has very, very little say-so over water usage, water types. That's held to typically your municipalities and your cities, and within the county, rural areas, they are private water corporations or that type, and we have about 5 or 6 of those that pretty much control the water and the water usage and the type. And that's all, I think, controlled by the TEQ, the Texas, TQC, Texas Quality Commission or something like that. So I wish we had more, but what we can do is certainly advocate. We work with the Middle Trinity River Authority, and they come in and give us, water table reports. But here again, other than what the county monitors, is we permit new water wells and we permit septic systems. Beyond that, when I say permitting, again, as long as they meet the rules, as long as they go through all of the process. In fact, I believe these 2 gentlemen install septic systems, and so they know that there's a process in that. But as far as fighting to get more water out of Lake Belton, or fighting to get more water out of Stillhouse instead of it being piped over to Georgetown. That's where we have to rely, and my relationship with our local representative and our local, our state representative, our state senator. And that's where those decisions are ultimately made. But again, I think that's, one of the advantages I have is that experience. I have met with those folks. I talk to them all the time and push them as hard as I can to legislate things to conserve the next gold, which is water.
Can you repeat the question one more time? Sorry.
What are your thoughts on our current water infrastructure, availability, and the current level of water development in the county?
Well, the water infrastructure itself is pretty bad. I mean, they fix leaks all the time. The availability, I mean, it's pretty good. We get it out of Lake Belton. The county can help with the infrastructure, because just like during Snowmageddon, in 2021, 22, they got some relief money, and they use that money to buy generators for the water companies. So whenever the power goes out, they can still pump water. So, they could, put a little more effort into getting some more money. I'm not saying it'll happen overnight, or even if we can. But they got that one time, so that tells me, well, we can get it again and try and upgrade and update. And yes, the water co-ops do have their say-so over the water they sell. But the county can give incentives to upgrade it. I'm not saying give them money or anything, but you got to be able to work with every business within your county to get what the county needs and wants. Thank you.
And your last question, gentlemen. What one part of Coryell County government would receive more attention if you were elected?
I don't know the answer to that one.
Would you like to give me your time?
I'll just give my time to Scott. I don't have an answer for that one. I would just try to do it, across the board. Try to do as much as I can with everybody. And know one person.
Maybe I'll rephrase it for you. Not necessarily one person, but is there one section of the county government that you feel like is maybe seriously underperforming from where it should be that would get your attention, if that helps?
Okay, yeah. Where I would put most of my time probably is in budgeting and finances. That's what I do kind of day to day. And so that's probably where I would put it. I'd just spend most of my time in that area. But ways to cut.
When I ran 4 years ago, I promised two things: that I would fund the two largest departments and make sure that they had the proper tools and equipment to do their job. That is I call it safety, which includes law enforcement, EMS, and volunteer fire departments, and of course our paid fire department in Cove. And then, secondly, the other one was road and bridge. So I had safety and road and bridge. And I did have to write this down because I thought this might come up because I can't remember everything. But some of the promises that the court, and I say this, you gotta remember, I'm one of 5 on a court. I can only influence and I can only make certain things happen if 3 people vote for it. But on the road and bridge, we did get a double wide chip spreader, which if you look at some of the old county roads, they have to make it in 2 passes. Now they can make the chip spreading in 1, which increased efficiency and got away with that ridge down the middle of the road. We got them a new track loader, which replaced 2 smaller ones. We replaced a skid steer. We got them a Mini X, which they never had before, which allows them to get better in the bar ditches than they did before. And then the step raises and incentives. On the law enforcement side, we just upgraded their software that hadn't been upgraded in many, many, many years to eForce. We got them some new body armor. We got them body cameras, which they did not have before, and everybody knows how important those are. We got them in-car video. We got new SWAT equipment. I wish everybody could have seen that presentation that we had from SWAT. One guy 6'6", one guy 5'3", and they were using the same body armor. So, we appropriated. It was amazing. I mean, this one, and they need to cover their entire area. We raised the starting salary of deputies. We added 4 additional patrol deputies. At night in Coryell County, we have 2 deputies. And then we funded the VFDs, the volunteer fire departments every year. We put in 1.5 pennies, and then this year we appropriated an extra $45,000 for software support.
Time.
So those two departments.
Repeat it one more time.
What part of Coryell County government would receive the more attention if you were elected?
I would say the budget itself, we just gotta get it back in line, in my opinion. We gotta get everything streamlined and get back going how it needs to go before we start talking about, building a jail, buying this, buying that. We gotta get the money we already got in order. And then second would be the jail and road and bridge, just because the sheriff's office and road and bridge, because those are the two biggest expenditures. I know a lot of people at road and bridge, the big chip spreader that was mentioned, that's great, it was efficient, but they don't have the proper dump trucks to use it, because you can't use a 6-yard dump truck on it. And they only have like 6 12-yard dump trucks. Anyway, they're gonna have to buy some more support equipment for the equipment that was already bought. Not saying the equipment that was already bought is bad, just saying it's not a finished cost. We gotta keep buying stuff to be efficient, but we gotta stop the bleeding where it's bleeding now. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Each of you now have 90 seconds for closing statements.
I want to thank everyone for coming out. I'm not very good at the public speaking. This is my first, well, not first time, but this is my first bigger event. I'm going to keep working on it, try and get better. I know I keep my head on a swivel, but I'm trying to look at everybody I know so I don't pass out. I'm trying not to lock my knees. I got to get out of the habit of chewing gum. I know y'all are tired of hearing me smacking. I'll hang around after if anybody wants to talk. I'm really not that bad. I'm a lot better in person instead of up here. I want to thank everyone for coming again, and thanks Norm for having us, and I hope everybody has a good day. Thank you.
I'll reiterate that because, man, a Saturday, getting people to come out here, that's wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. I had a different closing, but I think you guys, know me by now. Scott Weddle, Precinct 2. I love my job. I love what I do. I want to do it for 4 more years, and then I'm done. I believe in term limits. It's self-limiting term limit. When I started this, I said I wanted 2 terms, and I still want to. But I do want to just address, the budget is something that I went into, and I had vast experience in handling budgets in the private industry. And then once you get under the covers and you start looking at accounting and fund accounting of the government, it's totally different. I mean, it's what you wish you could do. I had those same dreams and aspirations that I would come in and be able to fix all this. And this is just at a county level. But I will tell you, I believe in everything that I've done that the budget is very sound. In fact, this last year, we had 22 million in expenditures that we put out there, but we came in under budget $1.7 million, which then goes over into our reserve. And I could talk hours about trying to write. Bottom line is, 8 years ago, our tax rate was 5.4. Then it went 5.4, 5.4, 4.9. Then during the ARPA and COVID years, it went to 3.9 and 3.7. And so the previous court, right now, we're trying to get that back on a level that can sustain our county government. Thank you.
Thank y'all. I'm Farron, and I just want to do a good job at this. Like Scott said, maybe we're not able to fix it all. Maybe we're not able to fix everything. Maybe we have to come in here and we have these big ideas of how to fix the budget and do all these things. And maybe they won't all work, but if I get in, I'm going to try. And I'm not saying Scott didn't try. I'm just saying, if we have a huge account, and I may be wrong too, I'll get it later from somebody. Just the spending, it's just crazy to me. I don't know, the whole budget, we got a budget, and then we've got all this set aside, all this stuff over here. I don't understand why some of that wasn't used if all that's for the next year, it rolls over and that account's building up, why didn't that get used to pay for the jail? Then we just rebuild that up. Nobody else would have been out of all these taxes that we are now. So maybe I'm crazy, I don't know. But if I get in, I'm gonna try to fix it, and I'm gonna try my damnedest. So, thank you.
He said my name. I've been waiting for that. Thank you, Farron, I appreciate that. No, look, again, and I applaud you two guys for stepping up, because putting yourself out there, and we all know it right now, you know, social media and everything. But understanding a governmental budget was something very foreign to me. And when it comes to what he's talking about it's a reserve. And a reserve is there. If you think about county government, we collect all of our money, all of our revenues off your backs in January. And then our budget ends in October. So from October to December 31st, we are not collecting very small amounts of money. So we have to have a reserve amount to keep the government functioning until we can start taking your money again in January. And it's a concept, and you see this big chunk of money there, but that's exactly what it's there for. We try not to touch that. That happened a few years ago, and so I just thought I wanted to clear up what that reserve is about. And it's a hard concept to understand until you really start taking a deep dive into that budget. Thanks for letting me speak again.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Our next group is gonna be, our Coryell County Commissioners Precinct 4. Justin Smith, Ray Ashby, Carol Starkey, Keith Taylor. And by the way, folks, if you need a restroom break or anything, just go. Don't. We may not take an official break, but just help yourself and go as you can. No, we're not having an intermission. Be here all day. All right, gentlemen, good morning. Thank you all for being here. And again, in any particular order, we'll start with the 2-minute opening statement.
Everybody look down at me. I'm not very well, or not very good at public speaking, so bear with me. My name's Ray Ashby. I'm running for Coryell County Commissioner Precinct 4. I got a few thanks. I'd like to thank our Lord in heaven for allowing us to live in a country that we're free to do these things. And I would like to thank my family. Got 2 daughters here, my wife, and my granddaughter's here. They're part of the commitment that I'm willing to make, and I'd like to thank y'all for everything that you're supporting me with. So, don't know where to begin. I serve our communities in many different ways. I do a lot of volunteer work. I volunteer at a nursing home once a month. I do just tons of stuff. I was an educator at GISD for many years, and I sat on the board of Central County Services, which is our mental health authority for 5 counties. I've been on that board for 10 years. The board has a bigger budget than Coryell County, and I was on the finance, actually I'm chair of the Budget and Finance Committee now. And since I started that board 10 years ago, we have grown substantially, probably 3 to 4 times. And we run about a $35 million a year budget. I also sit on the board for Hill Country Community Action Association with Scott Well. We oversee Head Start. Meals on Wheels, senior centers. We're there to make policies for all of that. It's a great board. I also sit on the historical board, the Coryell County Museum and Historical Center, and I'm in charge of the maintenance of the building, and just thank y'all for everything.
Hi, thank you everybody for coming out today. My name is Justin Smith. I'm running for Precinct 4 County Commissioner. I'm 33 years old, which I thought was impressive until Tully and Farron started running. But I have a degree in computer science And that's something that I use for my business. I'm a local business owner. I have my business in Gatesville, Texas. I was born and raised in Gatesville. I've been there my entire life with the exception of a few years. Followed a woman to College Station for a few years, and then I brought her back home with me and made her my wife. Whenever I started looking into the county finances, I just really thought that there were some changes that could be made. I really think that there are some things that need to be done, and there's a lot of transparency issues that I believe a lot of our citizens are concerned about. Things are difficult to find needlessly, and I am looking to make sure that we get those issues resolved. That's about all I got to say. Thank you.
I'm Keith Taylor. I'm current commissioner for Precinct 4. I started my serving out in my community a little over 30-something years ago. I've been on the volunteer fire department at Jonesboro for right at 30 years. I was on the school board in Jonesboro for 24, 25 years. So I got a lot of experience serving the community, and that's something I care about. I do a lot of other, like at the county fair, we sell people out there. And I'm not a very good public speaker either, so sometimes you draw a blank when you get up here. That's what's happening right now. My mind went blank, so I guess that's as far as I'll go with it.
Thank y'all for coming. My name's Coryell Starkey. Just bear with me a little bit. I've got sinus problems right now. Been married for 45 years this year. And, thank y'all. I got 2 kids, got grandkids. I've been in Coryell County 62 plus years. So I've been around a while. I've done a lot. I've built phone cable. I've built houses. I've had my own businesses. I worked for the state of Texas for 23 years and got enough years in. Lost a lot of hair over it, but I was able to retire. My 23 years for TxDOT was something else. I started off as a flagger on the ground, and I've seen some changes that need to be done throughout TxDOT. At my level, I worked from there to assistant supervisor in Killeen, which I took care of Copperas Cove. Then I become the maintenance supervisor in Hamilton County and took over Coryell. They just combined it all, and I still took care of Copperas Cove, Hamilton, Gatesville. Facilities, road repairs, budgeting, the whole 9 yards. I went from that to that. Finished my career in Austin in maintenance division, 5 years. Traveled the state, teaching classes, working with district engineers and engineers in general to maintain facilities, how to maintain your budget, you name it. I was doing it. I was a catch-all. But my family is number one in my life. Of all the stuff that I've done, that's it. Your family's it. So that's about it in a nutshell. Thank y'all.
All right, gentlemen, first question for y'all. What do you see as the most pressing need for infrastructure or capital projects in Coryell County?
As far as infrastructure goes, I'm going to have to say water is probably the biggest need. I know that the water infrastructure is bad as it is, especially in Gatesville. And water is something that I've looked into a whole lot, and I don't think that's just a Coryell County thing. I think that's a statewide thing. The state of Texas has 1,500 people a day, is the statistic that I read, that are coming into the state to move here. And that's great. We have great growth in the state, and that is doing wonders for the economy. But we have to make sure that we plan for that growth. And Texas is not a water-rich state. So with this exponential growth that we're experiencing, I really think that we need to make sure that we are prepared with our water infrastructure to make sure like they were saying in the previous questions. We've got houses that are supposedly in development, but we can't get water to them. That's an issue. And if you look into the bigger corporations, I know Austin has talked to a lot of people about data centers and things like that. Those data centers require tons of water, which you wouldn't think is a thing. But all of their servers, all of their everything that they use is water cooled, and that's going to drain our water resources down. So I think that we really need to make sure that our water infrastructure is shored up for our county. Make sure that those that are needing the resources are able to get it, and that if we are going to continue to grow, we need to make sure that that growth is able to be met with the infrastructure beforehand and not after.
Could you repeat the question, please? Sure.
What do you see as the most pressing need for infrastructure or capital projects in the county?
Infrastructure, well, I mean, right now, a lot of our roads, our county roads, they were in good shape, but, there's still a lot of improvement in there. And what was the second part of the question?
Infrastructure or capital projects are most pressing.
Capital project, that would probably be a jail. I think that if everybody knows about the ARPA money, I think that's got us to where we're at today, where we're having to raise the taxes back up from the previous court, lowering it down to 37 cents. I think if we could have handled that money a little better, I believe that everybody should have we should have lowered the taxes, but I don't think we should have crashed them. Because Coryell County is notoriously a 48 to 52 cent tax rate. If we could have just lowered it down to the 50 cents from 54 where it was at when the ARPA money came in, I think we could have banked that money from the taxes and nearly had half the money to pay for the $31 million jail. So that's one of the things I think that we need to work on. Thank you.
On infrastructure, everybody touches on water, and I'm gonna touch on water. We've got a reservoir that we pull out of, it's Lake Belton. It's no longer called Lake Belton no more. It's called a reservoir now. And, we have three pumps pumping out of that thing 24/7 now. 24/7. We're not getting any more rain up that way. We're not. So everybody wants more water. Well, where are we gonna get the water? We gotta think of that in the long term. We're talking 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. We have to think of this. There's things that you can do to keep building going, but you have to implement some rules and some things that'll help keep the water usage down, like using plants and things that don't hardly take any water at all. Grass that takes very little water. Things like that to help conserve this water. Because we're not getting any more water from upstairs. Lake Proctor, they shut their dam down back in the drought, and we wasn't getting a trickle out of it. I lived next to the river. It wasn't even trickling, it was dry. So we're still talking about the infrastructure of water. We have to figure out where we can get more water, or have to change our thinking on how to use water more in a smart way, instead of just pouring it on the ground like I see all the time. That's me. Now, as far as bringing in more, what you call, what you say?
Capital projects.
Capital projects, I'll have to agree, the jail is on the docket. We really have to sit down and visit and get a solution on this. Somehow or another, we gotta get together on how to pay for this thing. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, they all talked about water. We need water. We have to work with the entities that we have. Commissioner Weddle mentioned that earlier. We have to work with all of the water entities in our county to see what we need to do. Long-range planning and development is nothing that's gonna happen tomorrow. But we gotta start, and we got to have start with a plan and work that plan. Stay with that plan as you move along. Capital investment, is that what? Capital projects. Everybody mentions the jail. Of course, everybody knows I was big on the jail back in the day. We have to do it. We spent 2.8, 2.7, 2.8 million last year housing inmates outside of the county. We can't do that. That's a huge, that's 10% of the budget or more. We have to do something there. And again, long-range planning and development. It's not something that's gonna happen overnight, but you've got to start planning and you've got to stick with that plan as you move along. Otherwise, you know, if you do some long-range planning and you don't stick with it, what's gonna happen down the road? Nothing, which is what's kind of happened in the past. But anyway, thank everybody. That's all I got.
Gentlemen, we said a primary duty of a county commissioner is to create and implement policy. A second important duty of county commissioners is to construct, approve, and implement the budget. The next question is, what is your experience with preparing and authorizing budgets?
My experience has been 3 years. I mean, I was sworn in on January 1st, 2023, so my first budget was 24 and 25, and I would just finish my third one. That's just for 26. My previous experience, I've owned 2 personal businesses. I ran them, managed them. I do, of course, my household. My wife does a lot of that one though, because I just have to make the money and she gets to spend it, which I think every man understands that. So, yeah, I mean, that's my experience is, you know, you gotta use common sense in a lot of it. You can't overspend, so that's pretty much where it is. Thank you.
I worked with the state of Texas for 23 years, and I learned a lot about it, is that you plan ahead. Okay, like we got roads that's gonna need some work done real soon. Okay, those roads are next year's budget. And we've got some roads that's gonna need attention here in a couple of years. Okay, we're gonna have to see if we can get some money saved up, ready for the second year. Then you got out to a third year. So you're gonna have to base your budget on that according to the way I used to do it for the state. Of course, every 7 years, we was on a 7-year rotation of seal coating roads. Every year, we was 7 years, we was gonna either shoot a 25 with a half inch or a quarter inch rock. You're gonna shoot a 75 with a 3/4 inch rock. Now, if you use a 3/4 inch rock, what I'm saying is that you can shoot more asphalt, cover more cracks, and seal off more road, and it lasts a lot longer. But you have to have experienced people to do that kind of work. You just can't get somebody off the street. So I'm looking at the future buildings. If you got a leaking building, fix that leak. A couple of years later, we can go in there and re-roof that thing. You got paint peeling off, let's work on paint. Things like that, and we'll get things budgets where we can work on the buildings. So that's kind of the way we used to do things in the state, and that's kind of how I do it today with myself. Thank you.
Did you repeat the question, Norm? Sorry.
What is your experience with preparing and authorizing budgets?
Okay, as I mentioned before, when I was really nervous, I'm just a little nervous now. I sat on the board. I'm actually president of the Board of Central County Services, the mental health authority for 5 counties. I'm also the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee. And as I mentioned before, we have tripled, if not quadrupled, the assets of Coryell, Central County Services in the last 10 years. Not to mention, we handle a $35 million a year budget, and we do it very well. It's a governmental entity. We get spot on audits all the time, no problems at all. Very experienced there. I also am experienced with county budget. I had 6.5 years as a county commissioner prior to Commissioner Taylor's term. And I also worked on county budgets back then, very familiar with them, and also other budgets, but those are the two big ones. Thank you.
So as far as budgets are concerned, you know, I do my own taxes, I do all of our budgeting at my house. I also own a business, as I mentioned before, so I know how to budget for a larger operation than just residential. I've also looked into the county budgets, especially this past year. I really dug into what they had, what they were proposing, and what everything was looking like. I sat down with one of the commissioners, and we went over the budget for about 4 hours. And so it's not something that is foreign to me. I feel like I am someone who is open to learning. As a young person, I'm not set in my ways. I have the ability and the capacity to pick up new things, and so I think that's one of the things that kind of sets me apart, because I am able to actually, I'm able to listen, and I have an open mind, so my mind can be changed. Somebody has a good idea, I'll take that and I'll run with it, and if I don't think that that's the best idea, I can respectfully disagree with that. That being said, I think that the budget, the way that it is done now, I think that there needs to be more communication between the judge and the commissioners and those who are actually making the budget, because as the process goes, the heads of the departments in the county are the ones that present the budget to them, and then they approve or deny that budget process. I think that the commissioners and the judge need to have a better relationship with these heads of departments, so that they are able to get more feedback from them and know what is necessary for these particular roles.
Next question. Should any part of the county budget be shielded from cutting? If so, which area?
What? Shielded from cutting. I would have to say the emergency management type stuff. I would have to say that. We need to make sure our citizens are taken care of. And if you start cutting budgets, especially around, you know, like the emergency management type stuff, which includes the sheriff's office, the fire departments and things like that, well, we're just shooting ourselves in the foot, to be honest with you. I don't really want to touch any of that, personally. Is there some things we can do maybe to make things a little easier and not as costly probably, but we have to sit down as a group and talk about it. Brainstorm is what I always called it. I used to have to sit down with all these other supervisors and engineers, and we'd sit down there and come up with the 3 top things that we need to look at, and that's what we drilled to, 3 of them. And it was either gonna come up with a solution, or we just keep on drilling on it until we come up with something. But that's kind of how I look at it. Thank you.
I know. Can you repeat the question?
Should any part of Coryell County budget be shielded from cuts, and if so, which one?
My first answer would be no. You know, we have our 2 largest departments, our public safety, the sheriff's department, the EMS, all of that. How are you gonna cut that? I mean, maybe we can work with, I mean, my first answer is no, but you know, there is ways to look at every department and possibly cut a budget. So I'm not gonna say there's one in particular department. I'm gonna say all of them need to be looked at, and all of them need to be worked through. Our 2 biggest ones, road and bridge, and our public safety, the law enforcement and EMS and so on. Those, since they are your biggest budget, those are the ones you'll look at first, you know, and then you work your way down. I don't think anybody should be shielded from budget cuts. That's my answer. Thank you.
So kind of to reiterate on what they've said, I also don't believe that particular department needs to be shielded per se. I think common sense will dictate whether a budget is feasible or not. And that's why you guys are electing people for these roles, because you want people that have common sense, and you want people that are gonna actually make good decisions as far as this goes. If there's a particular department that is shielded from a budget cut, I don't think that that would be conducive to a good budgeting process as an overall whole. I think that we need to have just better elected officials that will look at things in a long-term scope. We need to make sure that what we're doing now is not to get reelected. What we're doing now is to make sure that what happens in 10, 15, 20 years is going to continue to profit and help the citizens of Coryell County.
Is there any part of our county budget that should be shielded from cuts? If so, why? Which one?
No, I don't think any of them should be shielded. We have a set amount of money that comes in from the taxes. So we've got to pay all the bills with that set amount of money. We can't go over it. Now, you look at the sheriff's department, EMS and all that, like they were saying, those are the last ones you want to look at to cut. But on the sheriff's department side, that is one of the biggest departments we have. But if you don't have them, then there's no sense having the county to protect, because they have to be there to protect the people. And that is part of our job, is to fund it to where everybody is protected. Road and bridge, they've been cut severely the last 2 or 3 years. And I think in a couple of years, you're really gonna start seeing where they've been cut when the roads start falling apart. Because they're not budgeting enough for them to cover. But no, I don't think there's any of them that need to be protected. Thank you.
Next question. In your opinion, are county taxes currently too high, too low, or about right?
County taxes too low,
Too high?
just
or
right,
about
or too high? We have to, first of all, you get everybody's budget together and you put a whole budget, and then you need to apply your taxes to that budget. If we can do that and give everybody what they ask for, I would think it's just right. But a lot of times it's too high. Does that make sense? So we have to go back and ask them to cut. Do I think it's too high right now? No, I think we're pretty good. I mean, we could look at the budget in the future and maybe get it down a little bit. I don't want to go any higher, if that makes sense. Nobody does. Who wants to pay more taxes? Raise your hand if you do. But a lot of work, a lot of planning needs to go into effect to make it work, and that's long range. Thank you.
As far as our current tax rate, I don't think that we are, I know that we're not out of historical norms. So the rate that we're at now is not super high. We have had higher rates in the past. I think the biggest issue with our current rate had to do with the way that it was raised and the percentage of increase. Whenever you're increasing by a massive amount, that's going to make more of an impact, because people have their own individual budgets. And so whenever you're accustomed to budgeting for a certain amount, and then you have this massive tax raise as opposed to a layered tax raise over a couple of years, adjusting for inflation, there's a big difference there. So is the tax rate too high? Personally, I don't think it's, I don't want to pay taxes, period. But is the rate too high? I don't think it's too high. I think that it is within a normal range, but I don't think that it really needs to go any higher unless inflation starts ramping up like it did in the last administration. If we're talking 7% inflation, I mean, you're going to have to make sure that budgets can be met, with this rising cost that is coming in. So that's what I've got on that.
Well, as I said before, Coryell County runs normally between 48 and 52 cents. It got up as high as 54 cents. And then the ARPA money come in and they started lowering it down, which I agree with you, if you got money to use, but the ARPA money they knew was 4 years. And after that 4 years, that money was gone. And the problem that we have, he mentioned the high tax rate increase. We had to. Because if you go from 54 cents down to 37 cents in 3.5, 4 years, using money that's only good for 4 years, and you've been budgeting on a 52-cent year or tax rate, and you're down at 37, there's a big gap. That's I think it's roughly around $6.8 million that was cut using what I call the funny money, because it's gone after 4 years, and they knew it was a 4-year deal. So, as far as the tax rate, it's right at 47 now, so we're sitting about pretty close to where everything could run normal, I think. Thank you.
Taxes, tax rate. Okay. Well, it's kind of a funny thing about the tax rate. Okay, we get the appraisals in, they go up. Then we get this homestead exemption, 140 off. The county's stuck. What are we gonna do? Well, we need to fund this, so we gotta have this much tax. We want this, so we're gonna have to bump this up some. It's a catch on there, One deal is the your appraisal goes up, your tax bill goes up. Then the state says, okay, well, we're gonna have you $140,000 homestead exemption. Take that off, and here's the county. We gotta make a decision. And a lot of times, it's not popular. And it's shown the last go around, but they've done, I think, the best they could do, personally. But I think right now, we're sitting about right. But when things happen like that, I think about the citizens, the people that's on set income. They can't afford to bump up in nothing. Everybody, they say, well, you're protected from tax increase. Yeah, you are, but you can't stop that evaluation. It's gonna go up. So I kind of look at all of it, unfortunately, that's the way my brain works. So anyway, that's about all I gotta say about it. So, that's it, thank you.
Gentlemen, your last question. Please describe your philosophy on taxpayer-funded debt.
Can I get a little context on that as far as taxpayer-funded debt?
How do you feel about putting taxpayers in debt to fund certain projects?
I don't think that putting taxpayers in debt should be an option at all. I understand that we need infrastructure and that we will need things in the future. I don't think going into debt to get those things done is the best method. I don't like the thought of having to owe and pay interest. The issue with debt is that you've got interest on debt. And whenever you have to pay interest, things end up costing way, way more than they would in the first place. So if we have a good budgeting system and we budget things correctly, I don't think there is a need to have debt. But we have to make sure that we get everything in order first and that we have enough money to be able to prepare for these things in order to make sure that we don't have to go into debt to get these other things done that are necessary.
Read that again, please.
What is your philosophy on taxpayer-funded debt?
My philosophy. I don't like it, for one. But being put in the situation that I was put in when I was elected, you have to be able to run the business. Or I consider running the county as a business, because it's pretty much what you're doing. I don't like it, but sometimes it's a necessity that you have to do to get things done. I prefer to plan out way ahead, save the money up, and at least 50, 60, 70% of it you've already saved up, so that when you do the project, you're not asking for much. So if you do a long-term plan, then you got everything covered, and you're not putting the taxpayers in debt. But there is situations where you have to. I mean, the emergencies happen all the time. So that's what I think about it.
I can only see doing that in case of extreme emergencies. It's happened before, and they've been able to pay it back, but, that would be the only time. I wouldn't even vote on it. I'd vote against it if we was gonna go in debt, build a walk park somewhere. That's not gonna happen with me. Cause I look at need first and wants next. So anyway, that's kinda how I look at it. Thank you.
Philosophy, right, on
Taxpayer
funded debt. Just like your house, is your house financed? There is big debts that the county has to take on sometime if you wanna move forward in the future, but it takes a lot of planning and a lot of call for it. The big departments, you can't just take your tax money that year and pay everything off. I mean, Road and Bridge has to have $1 million equipment, you know? The sheriff's department, huge budget. You know, we never go, as far as I know, the county's never gone in debt over those budgets other than financing certain things for them, like a new jail. If we get a new jail, I mean, you know, back then we offered up a jail at 31 million at a low, all-time low of 2% interest rate. It was perfect for the county. It didn't happen. We're not gonna get into that, I don't have the time. But we have to, if we move forward, whether it be 60 million now, we have to do something to stop the huge bleed that goes on. So yeah, I mean, that's my philosophy. I don't wanna do it. I don't want the taxpayers to have to do it, but if you do it constructively and you do it properly, then it will benefit everyone. And it's an investment in your county. It's not, you know, it's not blowing their money. You're investing it just like you invest in a house, and that value of that house gets more and more as you pay it down. You have equity, and you build equity for the county in the same way. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, you each have 90 seconds for a closing statement.
Me? Okay. Well, maybe I won't draw a blank in my mind this time. No, I started working, I worked for the state of Texas for 20 years. I had an opportunity to leave there about 10 years into it. But I like to stay where I'm at. I like to extend out and get the full benefit of it. I got a retirement from the state of Texas. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I served on all these, for the fire department, still serve on the fire department. I served on the school board for 20-something years until I was elected here, because you can't hold two public offices. And of course, this one paid a little more than that one. But either way, no, I'm drawing a blank again. But anyway, I love doing what I'm doing. I love representing Precinct 4. And if anybody'd like to talk to me after this, like Tully said, I speak better in person than I do up here in front of everybody. So thank you.
What y'all looking at me for? See, you know, I was a first responder for 23 years, and I was called out. I was on call 24/7. I was on vacation. They called me. I was in Colorado. Hey, we got this going down at Mother Neck Park. Bridge is clogged up. What do you want us to do? Get the grade outlet out there. Start getting those limbs out there. You know, it was never ending. Never got any good sleep. And Mr. Taylor, I know, is a good first responder because he tried to save my mother-in-law's life. So I want to say thank you. But if I get elected in here, I'm going to do the best I can. for the citizens. That's the only reason why I'm running. I don't look at people as somebody I'm running against. I'm running for a position in the county. It just happened to be on court. So, anyway, that's it. Thank y'all for your time.
Okay, hopefully my closing will be better than my opening. I was really nervous. I've explained I'm president of the Board of Central County Services. That's great experience for me. I've been there for 10 years. I am chair of the Budget and Finance Committee of a $35 million a year budget that gets spot on rates every year, spot on approval every year. I want to thank my wife, my family. I want to thank everybody for being here. My gosh, I've been a servant in the community for so long. I've done so many roles in the community, as far as school teacher to youth pastor to all of the things that I've done. I love Coryell County. I love our communities, and that's why I'm standing here. I want to make them better. I got kids and grandkids and great grandkids that need to see a future. And I'm the guy. I got the most experience, most qualified. I loved being a county commissioner when I was county commissioner. Everybody in my precinct knew that, and hopefully I can do it again. Thank you.
So the reason that I want to run is because I want to positively impact the lives of as many people as I possibly can. There's many avenues to do that, but this is what I was called to do, and this is the opportunity that presented itself to me. I saw a quote the other day that really stuck with me. It said that God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. And I feel like that is something that people really need to look at. Being experienced doesn't make you qualified. I've experienced 2 collapsed lungs, but that doesn't mean I can fix one. That's how I'm looking at this, is that I may not have as much experience in this particular case or in life in general. I haven't been around as long as some people. But I do like to listen to those who have been around longer than me, and I like to take in their advice, and I like to listen to what people have to say. And I think that's what really sets me apart, is that I am willing to go in depth with people and make sure that they are heard and they have someone who they trust to be able to come and at least give them a chance to speak their piece.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your day. Our next group is a smaller group before we get to the big boys from District 31. Our next group will be for Coryell County Judge. We have 3 people running for that category: Roger Miller, Robert Irwin, and Letitia Walton.
Any objections to us sitting down? I talk better when I sit down.
Okay, and like the rest of the folks, you have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Well, you can untangle myself, sir.
Well, hang on. That. There's the top. There we go. All right. You want to start? You're first on the ballot? Either way, doesn't matter.
Okay. At first I thought I got here late. I went to the other Trinity church. I don't know. My daughter was late with the car, and I guess I made it on time. But yeah, my name is Letitia Walton. I'm running for Coryell County Judge. And it all started off with me working for the state. So I was resuscitated. It got me a little livid, but I was like, I'm gonna go into the shadows. I'm just not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna mind my own business. And I got text messages saying, why don't you just go up? So I obtained an associate's in public policy law. So I'm not gonna sit on my studies. I wanna go help everybody, even if it goes to Congress. Because I don't know what they're doing to our children either. So, but when I started peeking into what's happening with county and everything, I started to see some things. I thought shimmering valleys. Y'all can decorate a Christmas tree. You can do a shimmering valley. But I'm 41 years old, sorry, got a little bug. But I do have 3 grown children, and I believe God believe there is a place and a time for everything. Y'all be blessed.
Okay, my name's Rob Irwin, running for county judge. I've been a lifelong resident of Coryell County. I started my community service or public service when I graduated high school, 1977. And actually prior to that, when I was 15 years old, I was riding the fire truck with my dad. Couldn't actually join until I got out of high school. But in excess of 25 years, there was some times there that I would get out. Business took me away from Gatesville for a little while. We were limited to a certain number of members. I didn't want to be a member of the department if I couldn't help. So I would step aside, let somebody else come in. Long story short, I was a professional firefighter at Fort Hood for right at 15 years. It was a very eye-opening experience. You see a lot of things there. You learn. So in the government business, you're gonna call it long-term planning. In the fire service, emergency services, it's known as training. You don't have time to think about something, you have to react. And as your emergency management coordinator, which the county judge serves in that position in this county, I think that'll be a very valuable resource. I wanna be a full-time judge. I wanna be there every day. You guys that are commissioners and the guys that are gonna be the commissioners, I'm the guy that's gonna be there. I'm gonna do the job. I'm gonna walk the walk. We're gonna talk the talk. We're gonna do away with the toxic work environment. I'll get into that a little more later. But there's 8 or 10 commitments that I will make to you, and they'll happen. The commissioners, I'll have you a workable budget end of July, 1st of July, as quick as we can get it to you. It's not gonna be the day that you have to vote on it. I'll promise you that. You're gonna have time. We'll work on the budget together. What we went through this year doesn't have to be done that way. We can do better. Y'all deserve better. Thank you.
All right, your first question is, the county judge serves as both the presiding officer on the commissioner's court and the county's chief executive. How would you set priorities and build consensus among the commissioners to address the county's most pressing needs?
Well, number one, I would be there on a daily basis, every day, day in and day out. I don't know the scope of how often I can meet with the commissioners. I'd like to meet with them a couple of times a week in person, one at a time. You can't have 3 without having a called meeting. But I want to keep myself informed as to what's going on in the county. You know, it just goes back to common sense. You have to be there, and now I'm having a Mr. Taylor moment. My brain's going. Anyway, I guess that's it. I've drawn a blank now. Mr. Taylor did that to me.
I'll be honest, I'm fault bringing myself. I got a virus, but yes, I will meet up with the commissioners. Then when you do speak precisely where everybody can understand and comprehend. So when I do speak, when we do come together, yes, I will be there as fast and hurry. Even if I gotta get my daughter to drop me off. But I will find a way, but I would want them to address the public, address us. Well, I guess if it's private matter between us. But yes, I will be there in fast and a hurry.
Next question. Coryell County must balance limited resources and growing demands for roads, law enforcement, and emergency services, especially in the rural areas. How would you approach budgeting to ensure fiscal responsibility while maintaining essential services?
Well, first you gotta look at the budget and see how much is put into play. The way it would have to be balanced is by equaling out. Some things may have to some may have to be imposed a little bit more because it's needed depending on what the circumstances is. Like he was stating earlier, some things are a debt, but there's a thing called a good debt. Just like the water ghetto, we need water, or you're gonna run dry. So, but when it comes to balancing, it all depends on the situation. That's right.
Coryell County must balance limited resources with growing demands for roads, law enforcement, and emergency services, especially in the rural areas. How would you approach budgeting to ensure fiscal responsibility while maintaining essential services?
Well, the first thing I want to say is our emergency services, which includes law enforcement, fire service, EMS service, and I'm not sure how much the county contributes to EMS. I think they're fairly self-funded, but I'm not positive about that. So we're having an issue right now with our volunteer fire departments. Funding has been held up. I understand why, but I believe there was a lack of effort from the, I don't call anybody out, the office that I'm seeking. I don't think you go that far. I think before it gets to that point, you go out and you sit down and you talk with these volunteer fire chiefs. These guys all have 40-hour-a-week jobs. You talk with them, you present the paperwork that needs to be taken care of, you get it done yourself. One of the instances was, I know the Gatesville fire chief, he had 4 months worth of reports in his phone, and he had emailed them to the incorrect email address. Instead of sending it to .gov, he sent it to a .com address. It's still out there floating around somewhere. So he corrected that, and they had the information they needed. And the county judge put out last week that the fire department funds, which were due in January, would be paid by February the 10th. Should have never got that far in my thinking. But the sheriff's office is a huge thing with the budget. You have to have law enforcement. I wish we had more available funds. I will personally, and to try to get some assistance, seeking some grant money. I know there is grant money laying on the table that's been there for quite some time, requiring a couple of documents and a signature is all it takes to get it. Well, after that was brought to the court's attention the other day, it's now in the works, and it looks like we may be able to get that money. $300,000, it's not a drop in the bucket. You have to go through the motion.
Next question. Coryell County includes rural communities, agricultural interests, and families connected to Fort Hood. How would you ensure, as a judge, that county decisions reflect the needs of all residents, not just the most vocal or populated areas?
You mean to do that? Okay, the county judge as your county judge, every community in Coryell County will get my attention. From Copperas Cove to Evant, everything in between, Pearl, Jonesboro, Coryell City, Oglesby, all the way around. I mean, everybody deserves equal representation. Fort Hood, we have a lot of people that work on Fort Hood, Copperas Cove, Copperas Cove, and I'll go back to the fire service. They are a city-funded fire department. The county does appropriate some funding for them, I believe, but the biggest part of your rural area fires are covered by volunteer departments. There's a lot more to this than I'm just relating to the fire service because that's where my heart has been for years. The last part of the question, I'm sorry.
How would you approach budgeting to ensure fiscal responsibility while maintaining essential services?
The budget process has to be based on needs and not on wants. It's not a political game. It is. You have to be able to divide between the two. And as your county judge, that's the way we'll budget. We will budget on needs as opposed to wants. That's all I got.
It's the same thing. For one, I don't even think we're even I know Fort Hood is part of, Coryell County, but I don't think we're even over them. So when it comes to Fort Hood, I think they're in charge of their own. But with the other that's part of Coryell County, yes, it's all about the things that we need and not what we want. We gotta improvise. But yeah, I'm the same way. I'm keep my answers short and sweet. But a lot of things is common sense when it comes to budgeting. I need to know more about the Fort Hood ordeal, because I tried to get a guy my card. He was a military. He said, "Oh yeah, we ain't got nothing to do with that." So, but yep, that's my answer.
The next question. Infrastructure, particularly county roads and emergency response capabilities, is a frequent concern for Coryell County residents. What is your plan for maintaining and improving infrastructure while managing long-term costs?
I know a lot of potholes. With that being said, I think we should try something different. Like maybe like sheetrock, but hard rubber with just something different. I know there is a way to cover the potholes, but I know off of 116 Avenue B, there's a lot of sidewalks that need to be granted there. But I don't think the roads are as bad as, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put them on the spot as Temple, but I just know a lot of budgeting needs to come in that. Even if it costs us, if we gotta put a little bit extra into the roading. I just found out about the city of Flats, and I was like, I've been here my whole life, but maybe I need to go look into those other cities as well to see what's going on. But I have people in my inbox coming to me about those ordeals. So, but to me, I feel like it's the potholes in certain sidewalks that needs to be planted into this Coryell County.
Sure. Infrastructure, particularly county roads and emergency response capabilities, are a frequent concern for Coryell County residents. What is your plan for maintaining and improving infrastructure while managing long-term costs?
I think that the trick to that, so Justin does a good job with the road and bridge administration. Justin Latham is the guy. He has a plan for X number of miles of road improvement, including seal coating each and every year. If he receives 100% of his funding, in his budget, he includes that much. Plus a certain percentage of that budget goes toward maintaining what we have. You get into some of the surrounding counties, they don't have seal coated roads in their county roads. They're dirt roads. And it's probably way more uncommon than it is common for you to have the seal coated roads. Our county has spent a lot of money. I know back in the early days, the very first roads that were seal coated, the taxpayers went together and they paid for the material. The county did the work, and the county has assumed, my understanding, they've assumed the maintenance on those roads. You have to maintain them or you're gonna have trouble with them. You get a crack in the road, you get water into the substructure, it gives away, the road gives away. So you have to, that's one thing I think the commissioners, probably on a regular basis, they're out riding the roads in their precinct just to locate these potential issues. They call the administrator, he takes care of it. Your emergency services, I think you have to dedicate a certain amount of money for equipment upgrades. We want them, we may not have to have the best, but we want them to have adequate equipment to do what needs to be done. And training. Training is expensive. I know they have all kinds of classes you can go to. The state of Texas has people that will come up and train them on site, which is a whole lot more efficient. But that's pretty much the way I feel about that. I mean, we have to train our first responders and fund that training.
And last question, the county judge plays a key role in emergency management during natural disasters and public safety events. What experience do you bring to emergency preparedness, and how would you coordinate with local, state, and our military partners during a crisis?
Well, I was really lucky. I received a lot of training when I worked at Fort Hood.
I was fortunate enough to be working on most of the worst days of the Fort Hood Fire Department. There were folks that were burned up in a building, in a residence in Comanche 2 over there. Folks died. I was one of the first firefighters in. I carried a 5-year-old boy out, and he was still alive. When I got back to the windows on those buildings are tall. They're higher level, they're smaller windows. On the second floor, we went with a ladder, went in, found the victims. I brought the first one out, took my air mask off, put it on his face, and opened the emergency valve to force air into him. I'm standing at the window screaming for somebody to come up this ladder and help me, because I can't get out the window carrying this kid. He's 5 years old. Nobody's on the ground. The fire chief, Jim Wilkerson, comes up the ladder. We're face to face. And I'm spending a lot of my time talking about this, but it's experiences that I've had. Anyway, he said, "What are you screaming about?" I said, "Take this kid out of my arms." And he said, "What kid?" We're face to face, and the smoke is so thick, he can't tell that I have a child in my arms. I ended up quitting the fire service over that job because I couldn't get that out of my brain. I went back several years later. But, you know, wearing the boots, doing the job, I feel like I'm prepared to take on pretty much anything in emergency services or an emergency coordinator for the county. C-130 plane crash at North Fort Hood. Guess who's working at North Fort Hood that day? Me. UH-1 crash on the west side of Fort Hood, killed 12 National Guard folks. Guess who's working that day? Just unlucky, but I did gain a lot of life experiences out of it.
Well, first off, it starts with a sense of serenity. When you show up, you can't show up with chaos. You have to be verbally aware and mentally aware of what's going on. And a lot of people, you know, I don't have any, only thing I did, I just worked for the prisons. So I just know when it comes to the, when we had the freeze over, you know, we have the warm centers. I think that's one way to help those who are in danger. I've never really just seen a wildfire. Someone came to me in my inbox about a burn notice, but other than that, I honestly believe it all starts off with a peace of mind, coming there with a serene and being mentally aware.
All right, you both have 90 seconds for a closing statement.
Okay, so yes, like I was stating, my name is Letitia Walton. I've actually been here since I was 4 years old. You know, I've always liked to speak up for people who can't speak up for themselves. So I'm also a neo-soul gospel artist. I use my songs for my videos, if anybody's noticed. But that's really all I wanted to do. But I believe, like they said, God called us in such a time as this for some reason. And I feel like he was moving me to do it. So I do want to fight for the county. And I noticed that this city is built under godly principles. And even though many are not, they may not be spiritually woke, but which is biblically woke, but some are getting there, especially when it comes to the children. That's one reason why I stepped up too. For those who are, I believe there's a such thing as innocent children, but there's innocent adults too. I know how bad they may sound to some people, but some just want to go to work and come home to their kids, and that's it. And then, but the darkness that's in the roads, in the streets and all that, you know, it's been a toll on a lot of things when it comes to physical aspect. But again, I just wanted to be here to help the people, and a lot of things when it comes to the laws and rules and regulations. It's about perspective and perception's value. There's always a point of view.
Okay, I want to thank you folks for being here, giving up a portion of your Saturday morning on a beautiful day outside. That's not the easiest thing to do. And I've got a list of 9 things here that I will commit to. I want to read them so when my mind goes blank, I don't get up here and make a fool out of myself. As your county judge, number 1, I will restore a positive workplace environment within the Coryell County Annex on day 1.
that's not gonna be a big project. You treat people the way they deserve to be treated, and those problems all go away. Somebody was talking to me the other day and said, what a monstrous, a mountainous position you're putting yourself in. And I said, I don't look at it like that. I don't think it's gonna take near as long as you think it is to get things straightened out. I believe once you get everybody on the same page, pulling in the same direction, things are gonna happen quick. It's gonna go back like it's supposed to be. Number two, restore a cohesive commissioners court. I can work with these guys. I've been to their meetings, I've seen what they do. They take a bashing sometimes from people that don't go to the meetings and see what's going on, and I want to applaud each one of those guys. Salt of the earth, y'all are doing great work. You don't get the credit you deserve for it. I better go on. Hold myself accountable. I will hold myself accountable, and I want the voters to do the same. Lead by example, listen, speak clearly, act decisively, keep discussion professional and focused on outcomes, protect the tax dollars. Sorry, I have one more, but I'll tell you about it later.
All right. Now, last but not least, by any stretch, is our Congressional District 31 candidates. I know we have several of them here, not all of them.
Sorry.
All right, gentlemen, you can be seated. And just as a quick reminder, if anybody mentions another candidate, that candidate will get 60 seconds for a reply. And we can start in any order. You each have 2 minutes for an opening statement.
I guess I'll start.
Go ahead, Will.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for showing up today. My name is William Abel, running for Congress, retired combat veteran. So there's so many issues that need to be addressed with the federal government, from income taxes, wasteful spending, protecting our Constitution, energy independence. So as I drive around the district, there's a lot of places where we started seeing all the solar panel farms and windmills, and they're not as environmentally friendly as you may think. There's a lot of issues with them, from destroying the land underneath, from the oil spilling out from the windmills, damaging to the windmill blades, the wildlife aspects of it. We need to look into more energy efficient sources like nuclear, geothermal, coal, and even natural gas. But we'll get on that later. There's a lot of veteran issues. So we got issues with the homeless veterans. We got issues with the mental health and how that's handled in with the veterans. Active duty issues. You got barracks that have black mold in them, where we still house soldiers at today. The VA, there's a lot of issues with that. But we need to go ahead and look at making it, or bring business back to the United States. Instead of having everybody go ahead and have all the manufacturing over there in China, we need to bring it back. And yes, it is going to be painful for short term, as we see with the tariffs right now. But in the long run, it's going to actually be beneficial for our country. So there's a lot of topics. I hope to get to most of them. If not, I'll be here till the end if you have any questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Elvis Los. I'm running in the 31st Congressional District in Texas. I'm an Army combat veteran and deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. I've worked for Senator Ted Cruz. I currently work in the Speaker's Texas House of Representatives now. When I first came into the church, it brought back memories because this is the kind of church I was saved at when I was 16, and I was a musician, and it was similar. I had a piano and an organ, and it was a very traditional, and I was part of the youth kids that came and brought that rock music to church, and it's very nice to be here with you guys. So at 16, I gave my life to Jesus. I became a Republican. At that time, the really big saying was, pulling yourself up from the bootstraps, and that really resonated with me. My parents did immigrate here. I was born here in the States, but I didn't really come from much, and that really instilled in me to working hard, and so after high school, I worked in youth ministry in Kansas City, working with high-risk children, and 9/11 happened. I felt called to join the Army. I joined the Army. At that time, I needed the GI Bill. I knew I wanted to change my life and improve, where I was at. And so after the Army, I did go to UT. I went to UT and majored in government. And this whole thing is basically a long job interview, and I feel like that Congress can't be the first time that you serve. You can't be the first time that your leadership is tested. I believe that, and I believe that being genuine is important. And I'm hopefully, I can't answer all your questions, but hopefully I can convey the kind of person I am. And I get lost in policy and I get lost in stuff like that, but I'll try to be human. So thanks.
Good morning, Coryell County. My name is Abraham Garapati, running for U.S. Congress for the 4th time in the Republican primary against an 85-year-old incumbent who's been in office for almost 50 years. I'm the only candidate not taking any campaign contributions ever, not taking a salary if I go to Congress. I'm doing this because our country is in existential crisis today. We just paid $3 billion in interest today, every day, on the $38.5 trillion debt we have. I have a plan to pay off the national debt so that our kids can have a future. I've been in the party for the last 10 years. I attend every single party meeting. I've been to 3 state conventions, Republican state conventions, and was elected as your delegate to the 2024 Republican National Convention. When November 2024, where President Trump was under attack by Kamala Harris Biden, I was the one who came here and put my sign, my Trump fight signs. I paid $30,000 for them in front of this same church, and that signs were vandalized. The reason I'm telling you is none of my 9 competitors did anything for the party in the last few years. And after 6 months, you'll not see any of them. The Democrats are very well organized. They have money. You need a fighter to go in Congress, and don't take elections for granted. We just lost a safe Republican district in North Texas by 30 percentage points, which Trump carried by 17 points. You need a fighter who will be there with you to fight for the party. Folks, what is at stake here? Socialism. We lost New York City. Half the country is gone. I lived under a country where I came to here from a country where government runs banks, government runs schools, government runs everything, trains, buses, aeroplanes, and it sucks. And they are coming for us in Texas. Texas is the last stand for freedom. If we lose Texas to the Democrats, it's over, folks. America becomes a socialist country. I had a place to escape to when my country failed. But if we lose Texas to the Democrats, we have no place to go for. That's what we are fighting for here. Give me a chance, March 3rd, Republican primary, Abraham Garapati. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, no longer good morning. We've been here for a minute, so if anybody needs to go take a break, please do. But my name is Steve Dowell. I'm a veteran, Christian conservative, a former police officer, a major in the Army Reserve currently. I've represented the United States overseas in 17 countries, both in Europe and in Asia. And I'm a local boy. I was born in Temple, Texas, Scott and White. My family's had a family farm outside of Temple since 1907, so I'm 5th generation Central Texas farming kid. That's where I come from. But I believe that America's #1 problem today, and it's holding us back as a nation, is that we have a dysfunctional and ineffective Congress. And as a Central Texan native, as a voter, and I hate to tell you this hard truth. I mean, I take no pleasure in saying this, but our current Congressman, John Carter, he is part of that problem. And he is holding back this district. And if you don't believe me, think about this question. The same question that I asked myself when I decided to get into this race. Where is John Carter on federal overspending and the national debt? Where is John Carter on term limits on Congress? He's never voted in favor of one. Where is John Carter on restoring our water, expanding that water? Lastly, where is John Carter on fixing our VA? He is the chairman of the VA Appropriations Committee in Congress. And I have seen veterans yelled at by VA staff. I've been yelled at by VA staff. I have seen veterans break down crying in the pharmacy line. I have seen veterans kicked out of the ER waiting room after waiting for 4 hours in excruciating back pain. That is why I got into the race, because I felt that I could make a change and I could provide results that we have not seen in 23 years. So again, my name is Steve Dowell, running for Congress. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Hello, how are y'all doing? My name's Raymond Hamden. I'm running for the 31st District seat in the United States House of Representatives. I grew up next door in the Killeen-Harker Heights area. Went off to college, came back home, planted roots. I have a real estate brokerage company. I'm a small business owner, been in building development, specifically the infill building development, where we went back to beautify and revitalize areas, but also bring additional tax revenue to those areas. I am a single parent to, he's now 17. He's been with me full time for a number of years now, and outside of parenting, running for this seat to represent us in DC has been the greatest joy of my life, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity. There are a lot of issues that we face. That's not a secret. We know those issues. One close to my heart, however, is bringing up the next generation, something we as a people and we as a party have failed to do. It's not a secret. We had a guy assassinated for speaking biblical truth, which aligns with our conservative values. What are we doing? Are we going to let that man die in vain, or are we going to pass the torch? It's vital to do so. I am a Reagan Republican. I am a true Christian conservative. And we need someone who will stand on biblical truth and biblical values to be our voice. There are a lot of issues we face. That's, again, not a secret. Whether it be the secure border, we need to codify President Trump's executive order to secure our border. We have water and infrastructure issues, something that I've ran on since day one. As a local, driving over Stillhouse Bridge and seeing as low as it was, I believe it was 2008, 2010. So the last one we saw a few years ago wasn't as bad. We should have been doing something prior to. We need to stop being a people and a party of reaction and start being a party of action. Once again, my name is Raymond Hamden, and I'm running for the 31st District seat. Thank you so much.
All right, gentlemen, your first question. Congressional District 31 includes military families, veterans, rural communities, and fast-growing areas. How would you prioritize the diverse needs of this district when casting votes in Congress?
A few months ago, I was a finalist to be appointed to be county judge in Arlington County. The county, there was an interview process with the county commissioners, and I was interviewed, and I was one of the finalists. I think that having lived different places and having perspectives of different lifestyles, that it's helpful when you're are looking at these issues. I think having someone in the federal government that has experience in the state house, that has experience in the county and local levels, and who can communicate and be a liaison is crucial. Being a veteran, and if you're a veteran, you understand that if you haven't gone through that transition, leaving the military, it's hard to explain. And as much as you love veterans, if you haven't gone through it, it's impossible to convey that feeling. I think that having the different perspectives, having the ability to understand policy and legislation in a wide and holistic way is important. And part of that, the process would be me coming back to the communities and explaining why and what's happening with each of the votes. Because I think that's part of the disconnect from DC and to communities. I think that that people are doing their best, but they don't know why votes are happening the way they are, and so it's important that the representative that comes back is transparent and accountable on what's happening in DC.
Sir, I have 200,000 miles on my truck. The problem I have is, where is the congressman? I don't see him. There's no town halls. Not a single town hall in the last 10 years. Who is the bridge between us and the federal government? We don't have any representation. Nobody talks to us, nobody listens to us, and that's what I'll bring to the table. My district is, I go to every single meeting. Whether you vote for me or not, as you have seen me in the past, you'll see my face for the rest of your life. I'll be here at every single meeting listening to the people in my district, whether it's high-tech jobs in Williamson County or safeguarding the 40,000 soldiers we have in the Fort Hood area. Every job counts, every economic activity counts. I'm also a cattle rancher. I know what the farmers are facing. It's talking to the people, understanding the issues, and taking it to the federal government and getting back help from the government so that our people are served. That's what the job I'm applying for, serving the people, not the other way around. And I will take this job very seriously. Thank you all.
So that method of going around and speaking with folks, that's exactly how you do it. And we're all doing that. I was gonna say, like, I door knocked on thousands of doors for months before I ever filed to get into this race. And I didn't just do that because I was instructed to when I was starting to learn politics or how to be a congressional candidate. I did it because there's a name for that in the Army. All Army leaders, officers, and non-commissioned officers learn this. It's called battlefield circulation. Wherever the troops are, wherever the families are, that's where the leader is. Now that's in peacetime and in garrison, and we do that. You speak to those individuals. You have roundtable discussions. You have town halls. You meet with the local and the state elected leaders. They're already the aggregators of so many opinions and so many wants and needs from the Central Texans. Those are the best places to go. In wartime, a leader goes with the maneuver element. And right now, I believe we need to reform Congress. That is where the conflict is right now. They are not able to work. They are not serving us. So we need command leaders to serve us in Congress. At the same time, they are down here meeting with those people, conducting battlefield circulation. And to judge me really quick, are my priorities in the right order based on this method that I've taken? My number one priority is to reduce federal overspending and the national debt. That is the most existential crisis that we have in this country, and it will bankrupt us if we do not reduce that debt now. My second priority is term limits on Congress. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. No one trusts anyone in Congress if they've been up there for over 6 years. Third is to restore and expand our water, which I've mentioned in the intro. And then lastly, it is to fix the VA. And these I did not distill on my own. These came from you. So judge it for yourself. Are those in the right order? And are those the right priorities? And then you can tell if my method and approach is what you would like. Thank you.
Will you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. Congressional District 31 includes military families, veterans, rural communities, and fast-growing areas. How would you prioritize the diverse needs of this district when casting votes in Congress?
It starts by listening more and talking less. It starts by having a genuine idea and care about the communities. Each, like you said, each community has specific needs. Mills and Hamilton are tired of the wind and solar farms. Those companies are being subsidized. Our tax money is paying for that. We need to stop that. But ideally, if it's national security, that needs to be a priority. So codifying President Trump's executive order. Water, we need water to survive. We have to do something about that. There are certain communities in the area right now who are working towards solutions, so we can learn from our neighbors. We have to learn to work together as well. But again, we have to listen more, speak less. It helps to have someone who's been genuinely embedded in the community. I don't take that lightly, and I don't say that just to sound good. I mean it truly. A lot of the relationships I have within District 31, I've had for at least a decade, if not longer. So again, each community is different, but we all have a common goal, and that's safety and security, that's resources, and that's making sure our families are okay.
Can you repeat the question one more time? I'm sorry.
That's okay, there's 5 of you, I get it. Congressional District 31 includes military families, veterans, rural communities, and fast-growing areas. How would you prioritize the diverse needs of the district when casting votes in Congress?
Okay, so what goes beyond just casting the votes, it also goes into being actively engaged in getting the legislation put together and ready. So yeah, you have priorities for veterans, you have priorities for like the agricultural side, and you need to go ahead and address all of them. But one thing I always tell everybody is we need single issue bills. So we can get a bill put together for the farmers, we can get a bill put together for the veterans, we can get a bill put together for the business owners. Because one of the biggest problems they have in DC today is they like taking one bill, making it 5,000 pages long and hiding all kinds of stuff that nobody wants. And that's why they do it. That happens with their spending bills. When they do the omnibus bills, they go ahead and they weigh in on page, we'll say 4,326. They'll go ahead and be like, oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna fully fund Planned Parenthood. Oh, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna push for transgender surgeries on kids the age of 2 that can't walk and can barely speak at that time. So yeah, single issue bills, we can address them one by one, but then you also gotta look at what's gonna be best for the different communities. So if there's a bill that comes up that's great for the military, but I'll tell you, if it's got poison pills, I will not vote for that. And I will go ahead and call it out. If we have something good for the farmers, with a poison pill in it, I won't vote on it. I'll go ahead and put together my own bill so we can keep the good aspects of it and get rid of the bad to benefit everybody individually. Now, obviously, everyone ain't gonna like every piece of legislation. It is what it is, but I'm gonna do the best that I can to go ahead and make sure everyone's represented and everybody gets what they need to survive.
Next question, gentlemen. Fort Hood plays a major role in the economy of Coryell County. What specific actions would you take in Congress to support military readiness while also addressing quality of life issues for the service members and their families?
It's a great question, and I love the fact that we are the largest military installation in the entire world, supporting 40,000 soldiers right here in Fort Hood. Supporting our military is going to be my #1 priority, making sure these jobs are here, they're ready for the next generation of AI and all these new technologies that are coming up. Our military is ready, and Fort Hood is right here in Coryell County, so we need to support our military base here with whatever we can. So my problem here is, we just wasted $500 billion for US aid, $50 million for Gaza, condoms in Gaza, $20 million for pottery classes in Morocco, $12 million for Sesame Street productions in Iraq. Where is this money going? 360-year-olds getting social security checks. I'm really disgusted by the incompetence of our federal government. If it was a private company, they would all have been fired by now. Why are they wasting our money like nobody's business? Why is there no accountability? Why is there nobody asking the federal government, why are you wasting the taxpayers' money like this with no end in sight? That's what you need, a businessman like me who can go there, fight for you. And what is it that the change that we need? We need to stop wasting money on all these foreign companies and we're sending to US aid, and bring the money back here and take care of our veterans, take care of our soldiers, take care of Fort Hood, make sure we have the best facilities for our soldiers, the best available installations, take care of the VA, take care of all the medical, provide the best care for our soldiers. That will be my #1 priority if I go to Congress. Thank you.
My last 3 years in the Army on active duty, I spent those 3 years at America's First Corps headquarters over in Fort Lewis, Washington, and I was a war planner. It's not a title you hear very often. I didn't know that it existed, quite honestly, but what they do and what we focused on is winning and fighting the wars with our nation's top adversaries. We have 5: China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, violent Islamic extremists. It's in that exact order. What do you learn in that role? You learn how to defend this nation, and you learn all the dirty little secrets that these countries, they know about us, and they know exactly how to pull us apart and exactly how to disrupt us, not just overseas and our interest overseas, but also here at home. That's the kind of knowledge that I'm bringing. That it's very hard to match that. You know, I'm just fortunate that I was in those classified environments where I have that knowledge coming in. And what does that do? It informs me on exactly what our strategy should be for national security. And it's very simple for the military. This is all the branches. We need to have the most lethal, the most advanced, and the most well-trained military in the world. That is how we defend this country, and that is how we defend Americans overseas. Now, that can go down into some specifics for Fort Hood specifically. I will mention that I wasn't tracking that Fort Hood is actually the largest by population or by land. I believe it is actually the second, but it is the best military base in the country, I will say that. And we do have a quarter of the firepower for the entire United States Army. So make no mistake, it is the most important aspect of this district, and it drives the economy. Housing for soldiers and families, that would be a start. And I agree with the gentleman on the right here that yes, there was black mold in those houses for a time, and it still needs to be improved. But I will say this, what's the most important thing that you can do as a congressman or a congresswoman? How about we stop allowing ourselves to shut down the government and allow our families and military service members to go and work and defend this country without pay? That's the first thing that we could do. Thank you.
It's vital we continue to fund the Department of Defense to make sure we continue to remain the strongest military in the free world, or in the world anyway, sorry. However, there are some specifics. Fort Hood doesn't just benefit Bell and Coryell County. It's an economic engine for the entire district. There are people in Williamson County who drive up here. We have to make sure we maintain that. There's no reason we shouldn't have any manufacturing and manufacturing and industry here, whether it be in Coryell or Bell. Bell Helicopter went to Amarillo instead of staying in Killeen. We have land right there outside of the aviation gate that's been for sale forever. They could have stayed here locally. They could have brought jobs and careers to those of us who moved back home. And wonder, I know one of the gentlemen earlier, I think one of the commissioner candidates had mentioned that. We need to have something that will be an economic engine for us locally as well. Not just Fort Hood, but in the private sector. Another thing, as far as our veterans are concerned, I don't know how many of y'all know the road in Temple floods outside of the veteran hospital. Temple has the money to fix it. They have the ability to fix it. They're waiting on the approval to fix it. They haven't been able to get that. It has to come from DC.
All right, so the question was, how can we help
Fort Hood plays a major role in the economy of Coryell County and our local communities. What specific actions would you take in Congress to support military readiness while also addressing the quality of life issues for our service members and our veterans?
Okay. So first thing I'd do is I'd stop giving away our equipment to other countries. And we've done that with Ukraine. Yeah, they say it was old, outdated, but I'll tell you, we still use that equipment. We also have to go ahead and look at the training. So I know when I was at Fort Hood, we went ahead and actually I remember one time we came back from NTC from training, and the day we got back, we had to sit there and cut the grass. So we got a bunch of homeless veterans in the area. There's no reason why we can't go ahead and start a program to assist them. What we do is we get these FEMA trailers that Fort Hood has some of. They have showers, bathrooms, kitchens, whole 9 yards. We can get the homeless veterans, house them in there temporarily. They can go ahead and use the services on base for substance abuse if that's what they need, mental health. They can go ahead and do a lot of landscaping work. This provides our soldiers more time to actually train and do the jobs that they're supposed to be doing. They can also eat at the dining facility after we go ahead, after the soldiers get done eating. So for breakfast, it ends at 9 o'clock. So from 9 to 9:30, we let the homeless veterans go in there and eat. We go ahead and give them counseling and everything so they can go ahead and be reintegrated back into society with a better opportunity than they had before. Because I'll tell you, I've been through I think they call it self-tap now, multiple times. I've done it 3 different times. And that is probably one of the worst programs the Army pays for. We also need to go ahead and use our money more wisely, because in the defense budget bill in 2023, we spent about $9.6 million on gender advisor programs. Okay, that's what the money is being used for. And we have DEI programs. There's still friggin' social justice incentives or initiatives. Before I retired, I got stuck going to a 2-hour course for transgender sensitivity training. And this is what we're wasting money on instead of the training. First soldiers to go out there, shoot, move, and communicate.
I'll try to keep my answer short. I mean, it's been a long day for you guys. The one action that we do to benefit Fort Hood from Congress is to advocate for the base. It's everything we're talking about. They're not wrong, but it takes money, and we need someone to be advocating. It takes experience to be able to influence and benefit the policy. And so even if I wasn't on that committee, I know how to do that. I know the realities of making that happen. We talk about Fort Hood, a lot of people will forget that it's families and it's communities on the base. So making sure that the funding for schools, they have funding for schools, the communities, the housing, all that stuff, it just takes money. Fort Hood, so when the Department of Defense became the War Department, I think that was great because now people know that we have to keep the Army the most lethal military in the world, and I think that being the War Department is helpful to convey that to the general public that, hey, yes, there's money going here, but it's because we need to be in a posture that's ready to do, the Lord's business when it needs to be done, So, thanks.
Next question, gentlemen. Many residents in District 31 are concerned about inflation, the cost of living, and economic opportunity. What policies would you support to help families and small businesses manage the rising costs without increasing the federal deficit?
Yes, so as I've mentioned, my number one goal, reduce federal overspending and the national debt. You do not have to be some senior master economist at a Fortune 100 company to understand that when the federal government continues to overspend our tax dollars and continues to raise the national debt, affordability tanks. Taxes continue to go up. They are trying to tax us into oblivion to pay for things that, frankly, are not a priority. That is the type, so I'll tell you this, I'm the only campaign right now that actually has any draft bills or draft legislation that's proposed on the campaign website, but please, gentlemen, correct me if I'm wrong if that's updated since. But my number one policy position that I took before I got into the race, I want to make sure I came in with a plan, just like any Army officer or Army leader. It's called my Incremental Debt Down Act. We've never had anything like this. It will require statutorily Congress, every time we pass a budget every year, to reduce the national deficit, and then every other year to reduce the national debt. We've had another law that's similar like this. It was called PAYGO. It was back in the 2000s, but it only required that every budget that was passed in Congress to be deficit neutral. You just couldn't add to it. You certainly didn't take it away. Well, that doesn't do any good for anybody. And now look at where we are. Now we don't even have that law. That law expired, and now the national debt is at $38 trillion and climbing to $39 trillion, probably before we get into office. And I call it the Incremental Debt Down Act. So I used to be a senior product manager. I was in charge of Prime Day, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Christmas morning for Amazon for North America. I managed the budget for $7.1 billion. And no decision we ever made was a snap decision. We did it in increments, 5%, 8%, 9%, so you don't break the budget. And that is what we need in Congress. We need a budget that doesn't sacrifice Social Security, that doesn't sacrifice veterans benefits, and yet we can still reduce the deficit and the debt. That's my plan. Thank you.
The question again, if you don't mind, Norm.
Many residents in District 31 are concerned about inflation, the cost of living, and economic opportunity. What policies would you support to help families and small businesses manage rising costs without increasing the federal deficit?
Perfect. We need free markets. We need less regulation. We need to look out for our small businesses who are the backbone of our economic communities. They employ more than the big companies, especially around here. So we need to make sure we're not overtaxing them. Congress hasn't passed a balanced budget, haven't really passed a budget at all since the year 2000. That was the last year we brought in more than we spent. And as many of you know, we cannot operate our households outside of a budget. So it's easy for people to just throw money at problems, but throwing money at problems isn't going to fix it. It's not a long-term fix, it's not even a temporary solution, it's just temporary. It might stop the bleeding for a short time. The fact of the matter is, we need small business owner mindsets with fresh ideas, who can get up there and work with other people in order to do such things as cut taxes for small businesses and start looking at other ways we can not just generate revenue, but tighten our belt as far as the federal level is concerned.
Alright, so I'm going to touch on several different topics here. First off, in order to go ahead and ease the burden of inflation, we need to go ahead and reduce the wasteful spending we have. Because what causes inflation? All of this wasteful spending, including the $2 billion we're giving to the Taliban, going and throwing endless money at all these other countries and ignoring our country. And with that, if we go ahead and get rid of a lot of the wasteful spending, and that, like I said, includes Department of Education, United Nations, WEF, WHO, all these organizations, we can actually decrease taxes. And we can take taxes down. Income taxes, we can take down realistically to a 10% flat tax. No deductions, no write-offs, it streamlines everything. And with that, we can also go ahead and reduce the amount of IRS agents we have, because I got quite a bone to pick with them when I go to DC. I got audited twice in a 6-month period. Apparently, they didn't do their budget right either, and they need some money to pay their agents. Small businesses. So we can go ahead, and this is something I got on the website, I've talked about it before, is if you're a first-time business owner, small business owner, then we can do a progressive tax system for you. So year 1 in business, 0 taxes. And that way you can go ahead and get the equipment you need, get advertising, kind of get yourself up and off the ground running. Year 2, we go ahead and increase it to about 5%, year 3, 10%, and so on up until 5 years when you'll be at the max tax rate. And this will help go ahead and grow these small businesses, give them a chance to go ahead and thrive, because they are the lifeblood of the small communities like Coryell County. Most of the businesses that most of the people here go to are small businesses. And they employ the local communities, and they go out and they do a lot of volunteer work in the communities. So those are some things I would do to go ahead and help the burden of inflation and small businesses in the area.
There are 2 things I would do to help the economy and bring down costs. I was really excited when DOGE came out. It was the thing. We implemented it in the House, and I was really, because my experience with Senator Ted Cruz's office was constituent services. I help Texans navigate federal agencies. So you needed help, I would help you navigate. They really included agencies, and we have the same thing in the state. Unfortunately, we got a little lost, and we didn't really hit hard into agencies to find out why things took so long. You go to make an appointment. Why is that person waiting so long? It would have been. I think there was a huge opportunity in that, and so it would be reducing spending by reducing the amount of full-time employees and figuring out the programs of why they're taking so long and so inefficient. The second thing is, right now, the U.S. is going through this huge technology change, and I think the government can incentivize small business owners by getting involved in AI, getting involved in quantum computing and things, and so because we were also facing huge job losses because of technology, and I think that there's an opportunity there for the government to encourage people focus on AI, quantum computing, and stuff like that.
How many of you remember the deal $5 footlong at Subway? I used to eat a decent meal for $5, not anymore. A meal today costs $50. Why are we here? What is this inflation? It's because we have a federal government that doesn't understand how the government, how the people work, how the economy works. We have idiots in the Federal Reserve. There are 20,000 people working in the Federal Reserve, and their only job is to control inflation. And you know what they did? They raised my interest rates. I'm a small business owner. They raised my interest rates from 5% to 10% in 6 months. And their excuse was to control inflation. Did they control inflation? Absolutely no. As a person, I was forced to pay more in interest and more in inflation. Why are we here? Because they don't listen to us. The number of times I called the Federal Reserve Chairman, Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, Federal Reserve Chicago, who they don't even answer our calls. And who do I reach out as a small business owner going through so much pain and struggle with all these high interest rates and high inflation? The problem is this government doesn't listen to the people anymore, and that's why we need a congressman who can bridge the gap between the government and the people. And what is the issue here? You can walk into a store in San Francisco and walk out with $900 worth of stuff and nobody's even going to arrest you. What is this country? Where is this country going? This is unacceptable what they are doing. And there are no grocery stores left in Chicago anymore. No Walgreens left in San Francisco. The crime, regulation, red tape, the trade deficits, the corruption, the tariffs. This is against the American people. Nobody is fighting for you in Congress. And that's why you need to elect a congressman who is going to work for you in protecting our farmers, our small business owners, in reducing the inflation and reducing the interest rates so that American people can live in a limited government society and benefit from this. And give me one chance, and I promise you I'll show you how to do it.
Gentlemen, next question. Voters often express frustration with partisanship in Washington. How would you work across party lines to deliver results for District 31? And if possible, give an example.
Any freshman congressman who goes to DC, it's again, we're saying a lot of things that aren't secrets. It's a known fact. None of us are going to get up there as a freshman and be able to shake things up to the point where we're at a seniority level. So it's about building relationships. As a former teacher, I know the importance of that. I was fortunate enough to teach out on Fort Hood at the middle school level. Just so happened it was during a time when deployments were still heavy. So we got to see what the effect was on those students as well. So in order to do that, we build relationships. We also cannot falter on our biblical principles and values, because as we know as Central Texans, that is our voice. That is who we are. We have a foundation, a biblical foundation. So the best way to do it is building relationships. But ideally, Norm, there are going to be a lot of issues that might be cross-party that won't help us. My vow to y'all is to vote for our district, to vote for our needs, and to vote with my conscience for everything I know as far as our Christian conservative values.
Yeah.
Alright, so broken clock's right twice a day, right? So I'm sure there's some legislation that you can find common ground with at least maybe one Democrat in Congress. So prime example is like a water bill, right? So I'll propose like a water pipeline and taking water from flooded areas or areas that have an abundance of water and taking it to areas that are riddled with droughts, like we were in 2023. And this is something that I think you can get pretty much most people on board with. You're always going to have the deflectors who just say, no, I refuse to go ahead and go with anything that a conservative wants to do. But at the end of the day, you can do that and work cross aisle on something like that. Now, obviously, you can't do that with like the Second Amendment, because they always want to go ahead and take a mile and then they'll take an inch. And you got too many Republicans up there who want to give them that inch. But when it comes to infrastructure, water, stuff like that, even power, those are things that you can go ahead and try and work with them on and come to common ground on. Because energy, every state needs it, right? And let's face it, the windmills, the solar panels, they're not efficient. They're not effective. We need to go to more energy efficient, cleaner energies. Well, fine, nuclear energy checks those boxes. That's something that you might be able to get someone to come on board with. And then go ahead and help fund them, get them put up around the state, and strengthen our energy grid. We'll talk about securing the energy grid later.
On the issue of bipartisanship, and so I'm the only candidate that has experience. A few sessions ago, my boss was a freshman legislator, so I know what it looks like when you're making these big promises, and you have to find a way to get those promises across the line. And you can't have an ego in those situations. It has to happen maybe through amendments. It has to happen through these deals. There's a lot of insider baseball that happens. that sometimes doesn't sound good, but at the end of the day, if it gets what needs to happen done, it's positive for the party. I think it's important to elect someone that has strong Christian conservative values. But I'm not a big rhetoric person. If you've seen me around, you know I don't call people names. I don't blanket do anything to anyone. I'm very results oriented. And so like my experience, I was part of the team that brought the 10 Commandments in classrooms, the school choice. When I was in a room when President Trump called and said thank you to the House, I was there. Texas foreign land ownership, ban DEI, the tougher bail provisions. So, and I was able to do that across the party lines. I was able to help influence policy that's benefiting and protecting Texas. And so I think that it's important that you're a strong Christian conservative, but you're able to work with the party, with everybody involved. The person to be sent to DC is going to a gentleman's knife fight, 400 plus people, and the person you send needs to have that experience that is able to operate in that environment.
So a few months back, there was a No Kings rally protest in front of the state capitol where 20,000 liberal lunatics showed up. I was the only one holding a Trump sign, and I was the only one on this side of the fence. I reach out to people on all sides, like Democrats, Independents. Last weekend there was a forum in Temple, and I attended that. I was the only candidate attending that forum. We need to reach out. My favorite politician is Ronald Reagan. You know how many states he won for his presidency? 49 out of 50. We need to expand our tent as a Republican Party. We need to bring everybody in. Everybody, independents, Democrats. You know how close Trump won in 2024? Guess how many votes we won by? 2 million votes or 1.5 percentage points is what Trump won by in 2024. That's how close it is. We need to bring young people, everybody into the party. We need to work with each other. And how would I do that? My heart is full of this wonderful nation, my America. I love this country. And when I love this country so much, I'm going to propose bills saying that we need to eliminate sending 360-year-olds social security checks. I'm sure all the Democrats will agree to that. Common sense legislation that benefits American people, putting American people first, American farmers first, American business people first, American teachers, fighting for them. I'm sure everybody in Congress will agree to those. And I will join my fellow congressmen and congresswomen in passing legislation that benefits America to make us the greatest nation again on the planet. Thank you.
The type of experience that I'm bringing, if I'm elected up into Congress, and when it comes to civility and actually working with others, it's the same that we experience as veterans when we're serving in the military. When you're leading troops, you have soldiers that are from every state in the 50 states, American territories, foreign countries, gaining their citizenship through service in the military. And yet somehow we always got the mission done. You can imagine how different all those opinions are, right? Just forget about rank. Sometimes rank goes very flat and we take rank off and we go out back and settle it. But we do that because we want to understand each other and we want to trust each other. And we always got those missions done. Missions were never failed. That is a no failure mission in the military. When we go up into Congress, we want to build those same relationships. But rather than throw a bunch of words at y'all, I do want to tell you one thing I've done something better. Judge me on my action in this case. I've already taken a pledge. There's one specific group in DC. It's called the With Honor Organization. They're only veterans. There's 40 veterans or so that are in Congress now. You don't have to be from a particular party. You can be from any party. Republican, Democrat, can be independent. But there's 40 members in Congress today that have signed a pledge with Honor to be transparent, to have integrity. My favorite is to be civil. No more name calling, no more divisive rhetoric, no more viral TikTok videos screaming at some witness that's come up to testify in front of the House committee. And then lastly, you have to pledge to work with somebody else in a different party, whatever party you want, but you have to work with them once a month. And then you have to co-sponsor a significant bill once a year, not renaming something like a post office, which that's 2 of John Carter's 6 total bills that he's passed in 23 years. 2 of them are to rename post offices. That doesn't count. And that's the real change and the real civility and teamwork that I want to bring. Good old-fashioned Central Texas partnership and friendship. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, your last question for today. If elected, how will you stay accessible and accountable to the constituents across a geographically large and diverse district like Congressional District 31?
So one thing I do right now is I show everybody what the congressional schedule actually looks like. Alright, so for those of you who haven't seen it yet, it's every Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So you get out Thursday unless there's a special session or something called. So you got plenty of time to come back to the district and talk to people. You have, yes, your offices and everything, but a lot of times them offices are not relaying the messages out to where they should be. So you go ahead, you make sure you give people an email address, get on social media. We've seen it work wonders for the Texas Representative, Brian Harrison. I mean, he gets a lot of work done through social media. And then the constituents talk directly to you. And obviously, there's a lot of times when you're busy, you got other stuff you're doing, but you have your phone number out there. And I mean, I got my phone number and every one of my cards out there. And if anyone has any questions or anything, give me a call. And now if I'm busy and I can't talk, like right now up here, I'll go ahead and I'll hit you up and I'll tell you, hey, I can't talk right now, but I'll get back to you. And yes, with 800,000 people, you're not always gonna have 800,000 people calling you, but you give them the different resources. And then obviously you have the office, but then what you gotta do as a representative is you gotta go ahead and contact them offices when you're off on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and go ahead and find out what messages have come in. Who's been calling? What do they need? And go ahead and make sure that you're on the ground with that team getting these issues resolved. And that's something that we don't have, and I've experienced it firsthand. So those are things I would do to go ahead and make sure that I'm accessible. And then when I'm not in DC, obviously I'm gonna be here in Texas. I'm gonna be right here in Copperas Cove, actually, central of the district. So it's not hard for me to get out to all the different areas and district, or the different towns, cities, and counties.
I don't make a lot of promises. I don't like to say things. I'm a big believer in saying what you mean and mean what you say. One of the things I did have promised is I would be in a county, a different county each month. He's right about the schedule, Monday through Thursday, you're in DC, and on weekends, my plan is to be in Coryell County this month. The next month it would be Williamson County. And it would be town halls. Hopefully it would be more gatherings where we could, have barbecue and speak, and you can give me your ideas, and I can tell you what's happening. Having the ability to convey what's actually happening in DC is important. But that's my promise to the voters, is that I would be accessible every month in a different county.
Sir, I'm a grassroots party worker for the past 10 years. I have a simple question. Forget that we are all running for Congress. 9 of my opponents didn't have 5 minutes time to campaign for the party in the November 2024 election. They didn't have 5 minutes time to attend the state convention. They didn't have 5 minutes time to attend the national convention. They just show up before the election 3 months before and stand, and then they leave after the election. This is not what is this job for. This job is a very valuable position that you are sending this person to DC to save our country. Every vote you do counts, and please take this very seriously. You have all seen me how hard I worked in these elections, and we can't afford a congressman who is invisible. We currently have one who we never see in our lifetimes. We don't want another person like that. Where is the dedication? Where is the commitment? Where is the paying your dues to the party, to the people? We lost a city council race in Leander 2 months back with 300 votes. If the congressman was there funding that candidate and supporting that candidate, we could have won that election. This is not a part-time job, folks. And this is not something you are going to see me for once in a month or once in 2 months. I'm going to be available 24/7, 365 days. This is my only thing. That's my commitment to the party and commitment to this position that I'm running for. So our country is in an existential crisis today. If we don't fix our country is going down the drain. You already seen what happened in Europe. We cannot take any more chances. We need to fix our country right now, and you need a congressman who will be your Doge champion, who will be a people's congressman, who will be with you all the time, 24/7. So give me a chance. Thank you.
I talked earlier with y'all about battlefield circulation, so everybody is considered trained on that definition and program now. We'll say that. But one thing that I do when I'm doing the battlefield circulation here in the district, and it's a little bit of a weakness of mine, I don't have any problem admitting this. Every time I go to an event, or we finish this forum, I'll wind up talking with somebody out here. I just keep talking with them, and I keep listening, and I just let them vent. And they continue to dump more and more and more complex problems on me. That's because what I do, and I just learned this, growing up and experienced this in the Army, but I've been told that my biggest weakness is that I give people too much time of my day. And I don't see that as a weakness. I do that on purpose because most of us just want to be heard. A lot of us want to see change. And if we're in this position and we're representing over 800,000 individuals, it's our job to take that pain, to take that desire for change and turn it into reality. And that's why I'm okay spending all of my time, all of my day with an individual to ensure I understand exactly it is what they want. And part of that pledge I talked about earlier, real quick, about the With Honor organization, the very, very tail end, you have to pledge to a certain line, and that is you have to pledge to put people and your principles before the politics. And I think every gentleman up here has kind of mentioned that to a regard, or to a degree at this point. We have too many politicians who are bought, who cave to party lines, who cave to the other side, who cave to what our adversaries want, or what people who do not love this country want. I will not cave, and I will put you before the politics, and I promise that right here. I have to come back home, by the way. I was going to say, I live here, so if I don't keep this promise, I can't shop at H-E-B after this.
So the question was accountability, correct? Yes, so part of that's showing up. You gotta come back home. We all live in the district, I would think. So coming back home, listening. Again, I've said it before, I'm genuinely embedded in the community. So I've got friends scattered throughout the entire district. People like you and I, people who go to work every day, who struggle every day, who just try to make it. We want a better future for our children. So showing up, staying connected, having an open door policy, whether it be in DC, through the phone, emails, there's social media outlets. We've got technology at our fingertips. We should be able to use it, and we should be using it. I am a huge mama's boy, and my mama still lives in Bell County. Even though I'm 43, she's still a very important part of my life. So I'm coming back home. My son and I, like I said, my grandfather moved here when we was Camp Hood, and we've been here ever since. So again, I'm embedded in the community. I love our community. I want the best for our community. Thank you.
So one final question, gentlemen, and you can just raise your hand on this one. Would you all commit, if you're elected, to not change your cell phone number? All right, folks, that concludes our forum this afternoon. I want to thank you all for all the candidates from Congressional, the county. Thank you all for coming. Running for public office requires commitment, integrity, and a genuine desire to work on the behalf of your neighbors. We appreciate each of you for stepping forward. I want to thank everyone in attendance and those watching and listening. It has been recorded.
Wait a minute. Don't they have a last statement?
They do.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to say this first, because when they're done, I know everybody's going to leave.
Okay.
Well played, Norm, well played.
Like I said, offices like these do not always make headlines, but they have a real everyday impact on our courts, our county government, and all the lives that are here. I hope today's discussion has helped voters better understand the responsibilities of these offices and the perspectives. I encourage everyone to continue hanging around, asking questions, but most importantly, participate and bring someone with you to the polls between now and May 3rd. And yes, gentlemen, you all have 90 seconds for a closing statement.
Guys, thank you so much for sticking around. It's yes. It's been one of those days. It's been just to give you an idea. This was only a few hours. This is not even the average length of a committee hearing. You know, I mean, so this is the Congress is actually a hard place to work. So for me, there's three things that a voter needs to keep in mind when they're deciding who they want to vote for. The first thing is if they're sincere and genuine. Yes, we all speak about it. I think likely for us, everybody here, I believe, really wants to do a good job. They want to serve their country. I mean, yeah, the country and the community. I think that's true. My wife and I bought our first home in Cove, not too far from here. I've been part of the community for a long time. I don't show up here because my work is at the Capitol. I work for the speaker. I'm in the back of the room. I'm influencing policy. So that's just why I'm not here all the time. So sincere and genuine. The second thing is someone who's committed to being transparent and accountable. I've already I just spoke about I'm going to be in the community once a month. Every other month or so. So then the third thing is someone who's ready and able to do the job on day one. I think that if you feel underrepresented now, electing someone that has no experience is going to take a bunch of time to get ramped up to do it. Is you're just going to be let down as well. I think that. Anyway, I don't want to give you too much more, but I appreciate you guys. God bless you guys. Thanks for sticking around.
Folks, 4 years back in Coryell County, 3 babies needed a house. And I was fortunate enough to pay $18,000 of my own money to build a house for these 3 babies who are abandoned by their mother and being raised by their grandparents. And Ray, who is here, was the contractor. Thank you so much, Ray, for doing the job. So that
did it for free.
Yes, sir. You did it for free, and nobody does these kind of jobs, Ray. The reason I'm bringing it up is to show you my commitment to this county. I'm not just showing up here. When was the last time we faced proud that America as a nation, when we sent a man to the moon, we felt so proud as a nation like America can do anything. Right now, America is falling behind, folks. All the major projects, all the visionary things that are being done in Saudi Arabia or in Middle East or in China. We need a visionary who can dream big for our country. We need America to be again in the #1 position so that our kids can have jobs. AI is going to kill a lot of jobs, and our kids have no clue what to do with AI. This is the Congress needs to have a vision for our country. Please give me a chance to serve you. I'll be your growth champion. I'll be your people's congressman, available 24/7, 365 days, fighting for you, fighting for our country, fighting every day, every minute, so that our country becomes the best in the world again, and we take care of it. This country is not about us, it's about our kids and our grandkids, and we are facing a lot of problems now. We need to fix them. Thank you all.
Thank you all again for having us, and I'll just ask that you judge me by the work that I'm already doing for you now. And I understand and I acknowledge I am not elected. I am not a representative for this district yet, but I'm acting like it. And I'm doing that work as if I were, just like I did as an Army officer. We never show up to a unit unprepared, unresearched, unwilling to lead the troops that know the mission. Y'all are the troops, y'all know the mission. It's our job to provide the vision and the results for that. So right now, as I mentioned, the campaign that I've run, I already have those draft bills and that proposed legislation. I have 7 total on the campaign website right now. That's 1 more than our Congressman John Carter has passed in his entire 23 years. Of course, not all of these will pass, but you already know my Incremental Debt Down Act. The term limits 1 counts as well. 6 years max for House members, 12 years max for Senate members. I also have the Restore Water and Expanding Water bill that I want to work on. What that means is going through our 5 federally managed reservoirs. Here in Central Texas, we have 5. All of them have lost capacity over the years. They have filled up with silt and sediment. Lake Granger, in particular, has lost over 20% of its water capacity. We have federal funding to dredge that, and the Army Corps of Engineers already knows what to do. These are the types of details that are on the website, and I would encourage you to go to those, read them, or ask me questions on these, because I do fix the VA, and I also have a Farmer and Ranchers Mission Act bill. So definitely ask me those questions. But again, Steve Dell, and thank you.
Folks, I'm just an ordinary guy that God called to do an extraordinary thing for our area. Someone who's been boots on the ground with us. Someone who understands the challenges that we face. Just like David, Moses, Gideon. For the ladies in the room, Ruth and Esther. Can't forget about them. We need somebody who understands the challenges we face. We need somebody who values the knowledge and the wisdom of the generations who's come before us, so we can continue to pass those down to our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We are failing as a people and we are failing as a party by not passing down those values, but also passing the torch. It's time. It's not just time for Christian conservatives. It's time for courageous Christian conservatives. Somebody who will stand up for what we believe. Someone who will be your voice in D.C. Once again, I'm Raymond Hamden, and I'm running to be your next congressman, the 31st District seat in the United States House of Representatives. Thank you all so much.
Sit down. So now, if y'all will stay seated for a moment. As if I need any introduction, because I know I'm loud. Actually, the Army went off and paid me to be loud as a drill sergeant. Best job I ever had. Got to yell at people all day and get paid for it. And I will yell at you too. So I want to touch on a couple things I didn't get a chance to touch on in the opening statement or throughout the thing. And that is pharmaceutical companies, vaccine companies, and general the state of the healthcare overall. Now, as many of you know, I've known y'all for years now. My wife was almost killed taking the COVID vaccine, which she was forced to take against her will. And when I reached out to the representatives, and it was Abbott, Cruz, Cornyn, and Carter, none of them returned any of my phone calls. 2 weeks, no returning of the phone calls, no returning of any emails I sent. And that's why I told y'all that I would go ahead and make sure I contact everybody, even here now during the campaign trail. Any email I get, any phone call I get, any text message I get, if I can not return it right away, I return it before the end of the night. Because of them, she ended up having to get the COVID vaccine. As I dug in deeper and deeper, I looked into it. The pharmaceutical companies go ahead and give $16 million a year to all these congressional candidates. That's why they're not held reliable or accountable for anything. We need to bring accountability back to it. And then I got 10 seconds left. So also, I'm against H-1B visas. I think we need to get rid of it because I think it's detrimental. It takes a lot of jobs out of the United States. And have a good night. Good job. See, they don't want to stay here with y'all. They were trying to run out the door.
Monday night, part 2 in Gatesville.